Hey everybody, welcome to episode 39 of the Joys of Games podcast. We are recording this on a somber Thursday evening, November 10th, 2016. This is the week of PlayStation, though, and that, my friends, is a good thing. I am one of your hosts, Josh Brown. I am joined by the man who gave an excellent speech Tuesday night, although I'm not really sure how excellent it was because I wasn't there. Colin Wheeler.
Yeah, it was a great speech. It was about cholera and how a bunch of people died because of cholera. So,
what in the world are you learning in school?
It's actually my own choice.
Oh,
I
wow.
thought it was appropriate considering.
Sure. All things considered, yeah.
Really, what I wanted to do that night is play the new Doom game, for multiple reasons.
Sure.
So, I didn't get to do that, unfortunately, but that's okay.
It's a good way to get some aggression out that you may have hiding within your soul.
Well, it's that, and it's kind of like an ironic playthrough. So, I was trying to get like the what is it called? Symmetry of the evening. Just kind of like line that right up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what I did for about an hour and a half on Tuesday evening?
Did you?
I played
sleep?
Thumper in VR.
Oh.
Now, if you ever want to just block out the entire world, that would be the experience to do so in.
I've heard it's a little intense, yeah.
Yeah, I took it off, and then I realized, nope, that still really happened tonight. So, kind of wanted to crawl back in the headset and sleep in there forever. But life continues. We must move on.
In Thumper, can you play the song Tub Thumping?
Maybe.
I want to play that VR game, the Chumbawamba VR game.
Moral of the story: we've been knocked down, but we will get back up again.
Right, and
also,
plus they're one hit wonders, so they've only got one song, and it's just
And I think they've made more royalties on just us mentioning them tonight than they've probably made the last decade. So we're keeping the spirit alive for Chumbawamba fans. As you can tell, we have a third voice on this podcast. We have a very special guest. This has been a long time coming. I have tried to make this happen for months now. I tried to trick him into coming onto an Xbox episode. He politely declined, although I'm sure his fan base would have revolted against him if he actually showed up on that episode.
Oh, I don't know about that. I play Xbox, just not
You
as
just
much
don't.
as
You're not allowed to
PlayStation.
talk about it, though.
Oh, I don't know. I couldn't.
your people will take you out if you do.
That's fair.
They
Some of
hold
them
you to
might.
certain standards, and
Yes.
it's unfair of me to ask you to dip down into those depths as far as they're concerned.
I'm pretty sure they'd make me change my PlayStation name. Oh wait, they can't.
No amount of money in the world can make that happen. So we've been trying to make this happen for a while now. We had to obviously make it a PlayStation week for many different reasons, and it kind of seemed fitting that we do it this week because we have a lot of things to talk about, specifically PlayStation VR, which came out a few weeks ago, but all three of us have had plenty of time to play around with it and enjoy it. So I would like to welcome to the podcast officially Trevor Starkey.
Yay! It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Josh.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to finally have you on this show. For those of you listening at home that may not be familiar with the man, the myth, the legend that is Trevor Starkey, I'm going to pass it over to him and let him give the elevator pitch on who Trevor Starkey is, why he's important to pop culture, and the impact he is having in today's society.
He's some schmuck who likes video games. He's not important to pop culture, like in the slightest. And I've already forgotten the third point, but it was also irrelevant, I'm sure. No, I'm Trevor Starkey. I've been writing and talking about video games since I don't know. Doing it pretty consistently since November of last year, a little over a year. But I was dabbling in it a little bit before that. My kind of first foray into it was I went and was a Patreon guest on our friends over at Kinda Funny. I was on the Gamescast. I was the first Patreon guest on the Gamescast, and that was my first podcast ever, and I had a lot of fun with it, and was like, yeah, I think I want to try and do this video game thing. So fast forward to November, or actually, I guess it was end of September last year. I launched trevortrove.com, which is my website where I write about video games and whatnot. And then I really started getting into it in November, where I started writing and publishing kind of work every day. Did that for a little over a year. I'm still writing every day, but I've kind of taken a step back on publishing every day, so I can kind of craft better pieces and not just kind of spit out garbage with the rushed deadline.
Sure.
In addition to that, as I've kind of stepped back behind the scenes a little bit more on writing, I've just recently I'm in month 2 of Trove Talk, which is my weekly gaming and getting to know you podcast, where I bring on guests and we talk about their gaming history, we talk about their favorite game, we talk about something completely outside of the gaming spectrum, and then we kind of open it up and take viewer questions, and I've got a nice little community going around that. Love to have you guys on some point, of course. And then the biggest probably new development in my life is a couple months ago I got brought on as a news freelancer for IGN. So you might occasionally see me writing some news stories over there.
Now, I've never heard of this IGN website. What is this IGN that you speak of?
The Imagine Games Network.
Oh, I thought it was the Internet Gaming Network.
No, Imagine Games.
Small little blog, I'm assuming.
Network. Yep. They do well. I mean, they get a few 100 clicks a day or something like that. It's I mean, it's not really the moneymaker compared to Trevor Trove, but
right,
make do.
Yeah, you're helping out the little people.
Yeah, it's good exposure.
Yeah.
I wanted to say, Trevor, that I listened to the first episode of your podcast, and I really like the format because, I've gotten past the point of gaming where it's like the surface level gaming where people are just like talking about the new stuff and like the new experiences. I'm more interested in like stories and people's stories and their experiences now than I am the subject matter of the game. So I think your format is exactly what I think we need. I guess it's different enough that it's like it's its own spin. So I just want to give you kudos to that, and I recommend everybody go and check it out.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, it had been like a Trove Talk was like a year in the making, kind of trying to go back and forth on what I wanted it to be, and I didn't want it to be necessarily kind of the. I mean, I've got a lot of friends, and I love going on shows where we talk about kind of the news of the week, and what's new in video game, what we're playing right now. That's all fun and good, but I did want kind of a little bit more of a long form story based kind of show, as you touched on. And yeah, it's I mean, the thing I like to often say is it's an excuse for me to sit down and talk with friends for so far the average is like 3.5 hours. So yeah, it's I've made a lot of friends in the gaming community over the last year and a half, 2 years, and I only get to see them really a few times a year, if that, when I go out to events and stuff. So it's been a lot of fun, kind of dedicating and setting aside some time each week to sit down, hop on a call with them, and catch up. I mean, like even outside of the show, we'll sit and talk in our Google Hangout for like half hour before, half hour after, and just kind of catch up and see what's going on in each other's lives outside of the occasional tweets back and forth.
Right.
That's awesome. You've also failed to mention that you have possibly the most iconic / recognizable / amazing hair in the business.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's kind of my brand, my trademark look is my long, luscious golden locks that are typically being held back by a pair of 8-bit sunglasses, which I use as like headbands rather than actual sunglasses. That's I've got and you were gracious enough to buy one of my little like 8-bit pins, which is kind of my logo look, or 16-bit, I guess. It's basically Tella from Final Fantasy IV, but rejiggered to look like me. So yeah, that's kind of my shtick, my look. I'm sure you can see it on my Twitter at Snarky Starky. Yeah, that's me. That's why I'm any bit relevant. In this community.
No. I will say though,
Greg Miller calls me out for playing a lot of Lego Dimensions.
That's true.
Which obviously applies to your guys' audience and the Toys for Games audience out there.
Sure. I will say that in a couple years, I'm going to be that guy, the Trevor Starkey hipster guy that says, "Look at this pin that I bought back before he was a big deal." So
I'll appreciate that.
I will hold on to helps. Yeah, if it goes completely just off the rails and some scandals happen, I mean, I'm ditching that thing quicker than you could possibly imagine. No one will ever see it again. But there's a chance you're gonna be big time here.
The next little bit of marketing, if I like get hired on like full time at IGN or something, and now that they've just launched their little e-store, I'm gonna work with them to basically be like, okay, now let's get some 8-bit glasses that are branded with my image on them. That's what I got to start selling. That's what people seem to be asking for now. Yeah. And I'm like, I can't even ship a pin to you guys. I'm not going to go out and find a person that makes 8-bit sunglasses, get them to throw my stupid face on it, and then ship it off to the 5 of you that actually want it.
Dream big, Trevor. Dream big.
Yeah. I mean, the first time that I met you at PAX, I assumed you worked for IGN already. Like, I recognized your face. I was like, I think he works at IGN. I'm pretty sure he does. And then Josh has explained and was like, oh, that's right. Okay.
That was actually where I hanging out at. There was an IGN meetup after that, or at PAX, and Andrew Goldfarb and I. We've been talking about getting me on board as a possible freelancer for since PAX East actually, but yeah, that was kind of the event where he made like the official offer, and I was in their system in a week or so. That's really cool. And I was actually technically I was there on an IGN media badge. I've got some friends over there that had hooked me up with a media badge to get into to PAX East or PAX West. So yeah, I guess technically I was there with IGN when we met. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I got the that was me going on the Gamescast back when I did that. What was that, like May of last year? Right around the first Kind of Funny Live, whenever that was. Mm-hmm. That was kind of me testing myself to see, like, hey, I really want to do this. I have a passion for it. I think I could make it doing it. So I'm going to test myself with like the highest hurdle of how can I hold my own against Greg Miller and Colin Moriarty. And I had like 2 incredible moments that came directly from that. One was after we recorded, Greg said to me that this was, I think it was like the 20th episode or something like that of the Gamescast, and Greg said that was easily our best one yet. And so I was like, yay! and then when the videos started rolling out over the next week, I did that thing that you shouldn't do and looked at the YouTube comments, and people were incredibly supportive and kind, and a lot of people thought I was somebody in the industry because of how well I'd fit in and how well we got along, and how much I knew and could kind of hold the conversation with them. So I was like, yes, I tricked them. Excellent. now I just need to trick the people into actually paying me to do it.
Right. Phase 3 complete. Now let's go back to phase 1 and start over.
Indeed.
Yeah.
You should just start showing up and then be like, oh, hey, what's up, Trevor? And then eventually you're like, hey, I haven't been getting paid. Like, go to HR and be like, I've been here for like 2 weeks. No one's paying me.
Yeah. And somebody also took my stapler, and that's not cool.
They said there would be cake.
Yeah, that's what a lot of this last year has kind of been like incognito, has been me showing up to events and stuff, and just kind of keeping my face out there in front of IGN people. I was in San Francisco 3 times last year for Kind of Funny Live, for the IGN house party for Beyond 400 and Unlocked 200, and then in December for PSX last year. And by the 3rd time around, like Marty and Marty Sleva and Andrew Goldfarb and Brian Altano all like were remembering me because they'd seen me so frequently that year.
Right.
So it was kind of oh yeah, I want to go ahead and keep doing that and keep putting myself out there and getting in front of him. And PSX was when I actually like first started doing the like 8-bit glasses and a sports coat and kind of my now what is my look that kind of solidified itself at PSX last year, and I've kind of carried it forward with every. I went to every PAX this year. I'll be at PSX in a few weeks. Yeah, it's been a fun, busy, crazy, hectic, awesome year.
And when you say you went to San Francisco 3 times within the last year, I don't want people to think that like you drove over from Oakland. Like,
oh, that's true. Yeah, I'm in Arizona.
Right.
I hop on a plane. I mean, it's certainly not as bad as like coming from New York or something like that. It's just a 2-hour flight. But yeah, it was a trip, and it was always kind of based around going out there for an event. And then yeah, I've been a couple more times this year for Kind of Funny Live this year, and then for the IGN 20th anniversary party that was a few weeks ago, and that was where I got to kind of got to go on Colin and Greg Live and announce to the Kind of Funny community, which has been awesome and supportive, that I had been brought on as an IGN freelancer, and then I got to stick around at IGN that afternoon and write up my first story, and then my first story ended up on like the front page of Reddit the next day, so that was neat.
No big deal.
They were like, we haven't had a story on Reddit in like 3 years, and this week we had 2, and one of them was yours, newbie. All right, boy.
You're setting the bar too high for yourself right off the bat.
Oh yeah, everything like one of my next stories after that was like 4 comments, like like probably 200 views or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah,
you peaked too early.
It's been hit or miss.
So you mentioned the Kind of Funny community. Obviously, that's what I was joking about early in the show about the reason why you're on the week of PlayStation.
Yes,
the Kind of Funny community is pretty well attached to all things PlayStation. What has that community kind of meant to you overall, as far as like where you are at now? I mean, you're on the Joys of Games podcast of all things. I mean, who would have thought you would have been here?
I mean, this is a high point in my career so far. Reddit, Joys of Games, whoa, butterflies, guys, butterflies.
I mean, I'm not gonna toot my own horn here, but this is probably going to be our best episode yet.
That's I mean, it took twice as long for you to get me on as it did Kind of Funny. So I'm the showmaker.
Sure.
That's what we gotta do.
I'm sure your check's in the mail, right, for this?
Yeah. There we go. The Kind of Funny community has been amazing. The first event I ever did was that I ever went to was the very first PlayStation experience. I had just gotten a new job, and I was like suddenly making twice as much money as I had been. So I was like, I'm gonna treat myself. I love video games. I'm gonna go to this thing because it was up in Vegas that first year, so I could just drive up there. And I went to that, and I didn't talk to a single person there outside of Greg and Colin a little bit, because I had actually like sent in a thing to them while they were still at IGN at Beyond, and I was like, hey, I just got this extra copy of Freedom Wars because Amazon screwed up and sent me a second one, so I sent it to them to like give away to somebody.
I remember that.
And so yeah, that was me. I was that
wow
guy.
Okay.
And so like the
that is strange.
Small world, crazy small world. But so I went to PSX. I attended that keynote, and I was nowhere near like the front of the line at that keynote, like to get in. But everybody in the center section was like reserved for media, but there was like nobody on the side. So I just kind of like kept walking up, and nobody was sitting there. There weren't any reserve signs. So I actually sat front row at the keynote, just over on like stage or house left, and like sitting next to people who were making Bloodborne from FromSoft, and like the emotion that welled up, like just being surrounded by that kind of community and everybody's excitement there for that thing. I was like, yes, I want to do this. So I stumbled upon Greg and Colin talking to Adam Boyes like that afternoon. Like when I grabbed dinner, I sat down, and they were like, I looked up and they were sitting right there in front of me. I didn't want to interrupt them because I never met them or anything. And they they finish up, get up, and I just kind of go and say, "Hey, I'm the guy that gave Freedom Wars," and Greg is super Greg, and he's super boisterous and like, "Oh, that's awesome! So great to meet you. Are you having a good time? That's Hey, Colin, this is the guy that sent in Freedom Wars," and Colin was kind of Colin and was like, "Cool, hey," and then kind of wanted to get back to his own thing, and that was pretty much my whole interaction with anybody at PSX, and then fast forward to Kind of Funny Live. I went because I timed me being on Kind of Funny with on the Gamescast with Kind of Funny Live, so I could like make it one trip, and they I immediately clicked with a ton of people in the community. We had a ton of fun. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Colin dropped out, so.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't want to do this whole like I'm telling this entire story, and then like 10 minutes from now you call back in and bring me into the call. So,
no, I didn't want to stop you to tell you Colin left because who cares? No,
that's right. That's cool. Whatever, Colin. Bye. Yeah. You can hear it on the show.
Right.
So yeah, I immediately hit it off. Sean Pitts, who's another big Kind of Funny person in the community. He was there early too, and he had a meeting set up to meet up with Jared Petty and get a tour of IGN. Sean Pitts now also, who works at IGN, he actually has like a regular job there, and he was kind of like one of the first members of the community to kind of make it now into the industry in that sense. And so I met him, and he invited me along to like his little personalized tour with Jared Petty. Within like 5 minutes of first meeting him. Welcome back, Colin. Welcome back.
Yay, internet issues.
You just got so bored with Trevor, you're just like, I'm out of here.
I was starstruck. Honestly, I was like, I can't.
Overwhelming. Yeah.
The glasses, they're just too much.
Typical Colin.
Yeah, so Sean and I meet and we go and take this tour with Jared, and that night was like the first little kind of impromptu community meetup, and we met with a whole bunch of other people at Wing Wings and just immediately hit it off. And that whole weekend, I was just surrounded with like people that we just instinctively clicked with, and we had great conversations, deep conversations. Like Kind of Funny was kind of our starting off point, which then led to, for most of us, video games, and so we started talking about that kind of stuff. And we were just, I talk about it in that like so many of us growing up maybe had to hide video games and kind of hide that part of ourselves because it's historically been looked on as like, oh, that's weird, it's you're the video game person, whatever. But there we were kind of all able to be ourselves and be free. And so I made like I went into that weekend, have never met anybody else in the Kind of Funny community, and left with like 40 new friends. And every event that I've gone to since, like a month later, I was back there for IGN and made a dozen more. And every event that I've gone to with Kind of Funny people, I've had incredible conversations, incredible intimate conversations where I just kind of like end up talking to anybody who I didn't know before for like 2 hours. And then getting to see like the friends that I've made at the community kind of at these events. It's been a ton of fun. People that I haven't met have been supportive and kind of taken this ride with me of Trevor Trove, which started from one of the people that I met at that first Kind of Funny Live, Alex O'Neill. I would be remiss to disregard him. He was the one who introduced me to the idea of like writing every day. It's this don't break the chain thing, which I think he got from Game Grumps, if I recall correctly. He's up over 600 days now because he's been doing it since back before I met him. But he got me, like, we talked about it and I was like, that's a really cool idea. And so when I finally got my act together and started doing it 6 months later, he's kind of the one that kind of lit that flame under my butt. and I've been doing it since, and he's become one of my dearest and best friends in the community, even though we only see each other 2, maybe 3 times a year. Sure. It's been great kind of getting to know him and so many other people throughout this community. So the fact that I've made lifelong friends from the Kind of Funny community is what will stand out above and beyond the best moments that that I've had, and the fact that I've gotten to share some of the most exciting moments of my life recently with that community, and with like somebody like Greg has become like a genuine friend, right. And I can shoot him a DM and he'll he got so excited when I told him, yeah, by the way, I'm freelancing for IGN now, that he brought me on Colin and Greg Live to like tell the rest of the community about it. So yeah, he's just been incredibly supportive. The fact that he'll be out there on another podcast and like talk about me as somebody that he thinks will like make it in the industry is incredibly humbling, and I couldn't I'm getting choked up just talking about it. It's something I will never be able to repay. Right. So I can only hope that I can do him proud. And yeah, he's been an incredible friend. So many other people within the community have become my best friends. I've met people. There are people that I've met here in Phoenix that I end up seeing more when we go out to events than like here in town, just because our lives are crazy, busy, or they're on the other side of town, and so it just doesn't make as much sense to like drive across town for an hour to go see them. When like, hey, let's go hang out in Seattle and meet up there, right, and spend a weekend crammed in a room with like 5 other people. Sure. So yeah, that's kind of what the Kind of Funny community has meant to me. I'm a moderator admin for the Facebook group, which is certainly trying at times, but at other times it's also incredibly rewarding. Getting to see a lot of the other people who I've never met share their life stories with that community. Mm-hmm. People getting new jobs, people getting engaged, people getting married, people having kids, like sharing it with thousands of strangers because they know it's a warm and welcoming community, has been a lot of fun and a lot of very exciting to be a part of. I came from like, I joke, I traded in, like I used to do theater. So I traded in theater, my theater community, which had gotten a little toxic, and like people talking behind each other's backs about like, oh, did you see them in this show? That was terrible. And I was just getting very worn down by that. And so like around the time I was leaving that, the Kind of Funny community came in, and the Best Friends moniker and everything. And I just latched onto that, and it is taken off and changed my life in ways I'd never imagined.
It's a great story, man.
Thanks for letting me tell it.
I have a couple questions that are going to be pertinent to potential new listeners of this episode that I think will get a kick out of this. If you had to pick one best friend between Joey Noelle and Zyger.
Oh, Joey Noelle. Hands down.
No hesitation. Wow.
Zyger is such a pain in the butt. I love him, but oh my God, he can just push my buttons so well. And like I will have conversations with him. I'm like, you can't actually think that, right? That's something you had to have learned by now. Like he's a special child. So yeah, no, Joey's been just incredible. Getting to know her, and she's one that I really just don't get to see as much as I would like to. But when I do get to see her, we immediately hit it off. We're texting all the time. We're having great conversations. And she was the one who, when you guys did your little donation drive, she was the one who picked up my specialty Kind of Funny Lego Ghostbusters, which are now sitting in the Kind of Funny offices, because I didn't immediately get it to the guys after I picked it up, because Let's Play Live was busy and they didn't have time. But I got it to them at RTX this year, and then when I was in San Francisco last month and got to kind of see the studio, Greg invited me over to see the studio. I got a little picture that I'll have to send you, actually, Josh, awesome. Of them like sitting on their little shelving unit there in their office, where they've got all their computers and workstations set up. Cool. Little Greg Miller and little Slimer Kevin. Yeah,
little Slimer Kevin.
Joey Noelle was instrumental in. You guys handed it off to her at E3, and then she handed it to me later that week. So yeah, like on that alone, Joey Noelle as my buddy in crime on Lego Dimensions wins, plus the fact that Zyger won your Superman or Supergirl giveaway.
The whole starter pack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Supergirl's the only one I care about
Right.
because I've already got the rest of it. So yeah, the fact that Zyger won that is like the nail in the coffin for why he's just the worst.
Did you hear the story?
Sure, he does your guys' like art and stuff, whatever, but he's the worst.
That had nothing to do with him winning, I swear. It wasn't rigged. Did you hear what he did in the middle of my Extra Life stream this weekend?
I don't know that I did.
Okay, so it was early morning, about 7 a.m. I'd been going for about 7 hours and playing Lego Dimensions, and Zyger was in there hanging out with us. And the previous day I had tweeted out asking the people in our community what game they would like to see kind of highlighted during the stream, Lego Dimensions or Skylanders. And Joey Noel was one of the ones who empathetically said Lego Dimensions. Like, she needs to, Lego Dimensions is where it's at. So I was playing Lego Dimensions, Zyger's in there. I was like, hey, Zyger, where's Joey? Why isn't she watching me play Lego Dimensions like she wanted to, right?
Yes, this I'm aware of.
Okay.
This was the other thing that makes Zyger the worst.
So I was like, hey, if you see her or talk to her, ask her what's up, ask her why she's not here. I'm thinking next time he talks to her, she's going to be busy all weekend with, the Kind of Funny community streams and everything else, and they will eventually talk and he will harass her a little bit about it. Instead of doing that, he decides that at 7 a.m. would be a great time to flood her phone with a string of about 40 text messages, one after another, demanding her show up to my stream to watch Lego Dimensions because I'm so upset that she's not there, and he's worried that she's not there, and just one text after another in rapid succession at 7 a.m. I don't know Joey that well, but I am pretty sure that is the wrong move to make with that woman.
Indeed.
So she immediately got into the stream and unleashed some fury upon Zyger, and as he put it, I did not stop him from doing it, but at the same token, I didn't know he was actually going to go to that extent to get her attention. So
yeah, we like all of us in the all the Facebook admins, we have like a Facebook group chat, and he like sent us the screenshots of that, basically saying like, I'm pretty sure Joey hates me for life now. And Joey, up at this point, said yep. and so that was step one of why he was the worst in Extra Life Weekend. Step two was I went and I woke up early that morning to go and support my friends over at Irrational Passions because they were doing their show. That's where that's Alex's site, Alex O'Neill.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing their 24-hour stream, and they were going to kick it off with a game of Quiplash. And I was like, a lot of my friends went and flew across the country to go be with them. If I'd had like a little bit more time off, I would have joined them. So I was like, well, at least I can try and go like be a part of Quiplash. And then Zyger got in the game over me. So that was strike two, and then Supergirl was strike three of why Zyger is dead to me from Extra Life Weekend. Yeah, he's just the worst.
Yeah.
I renamed him. I gave him a new nickname in the Kind of Funny admin chat. Zyger is the worst, or just the worst. It's since been like changed again, but
sure.
Yeah, for a while there, we all were just referring to him as just the worst.
Yeah, one man wrecking crew, that guy.
Yeah, but no, Joey's great. Zyger's great too.
Sure.
And they're two of some of my best friends that I've made specifically through the Kind of Funny community. Would have probably never met them otherwise.
One more question before we get into some video games here.
Sure.
When are we starting our Fast and the Furious podcast?
See, a lot of people seem to want this now. And Joey Noel seems to want to co-host it as well. So maybe we'll just get together a big old like we'll do a 7-episode show, one episode for each movie.
I don't feel like that's enough episodes. I feel like each movie probably deserves at least 3 or 4 shows.
Okay.
No.
One called Fast, one called and one called Furious. Fast 1 and 1, Furious 1, Fast 2.
Just talking about the family dynamics alone is an entire episode.
Sure.
And all the Coronas.
Yes.
This was out for the Coronas. All right, let's talk about this for 30 minutes.
Yeah, the running joke there is I've only seen the first Fast and Furious. Obviously, Fast and Furious is a big kind of in joke in the Kind of Funny community, but I've only seen the first one.
Me too.
And so now on in my little trove topics that people can ask questions for each week when I'm doing the show, Joey has been routinely, and it came up. I think it was like an inside joke from a lot of them who went to the GameStop Expo. They keep asking me like, rank Fast and Furious, and they keep asking me and whoever my guest is that week to rank Fast and Furious. And so yeah, last week we were joking about, all right, sounds like Trevor needs to start a Fast and Furious podcast. And yeah, Josh joined in, and Joey wants to be a part of it. So I guess we'll make it happen at some point.
Yeah, the only thing I know about the Fast and Furious franchise is that Tokyo Drift is the best one. So
well. Somebody thinks that Fast 2 is the best one, or Too Fast, Too Furious, and so
that's Ludacris, right? Ludacris thinks it's the best.
And Tyrese.
I don't know.
I mean, Tokyo Drift has Lil Bow Wow in it, so.
Oh, there you go.
Was he still Lil Bow Wow at that point?
Lil Romeo, come on.
Was he Bow Wow?
Ooh, he might have dropped a little at that point. You're right. Yeah. I mean, he'll always be Lil Bow Wow in my heart.
Yeah, just like Dwayne Johnson will always be The Rock.
Yeah.
He's like Mike. He'll always be like Mike for me.
That's true. So we'll hash out the details of this Fast and the Furious podcast, because if there's one thing that I know how to do, Trevor, it's to start a new podcast about random things. So
indeed. How many do you have now? Like 7? 8?
I lost count.
Also, every week it seems like every week he's like, so what? How would you feel if I did this one? I'm like, really, another podcast?
Colin, how many podcasts have you actually talked me out of doing?
I've lost count.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
You guys got to start like a Funko podcast. I think that's.
Well, we have a collector's edition where we talk about Funko and Tsum Tsum and Shopkins and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, so. I don't care about that other stuff. Just the Funko.
Yeah.
So just give me that segment. Just clip that out as its own show.
Sure. Let's do this podcast though. People want to know about video games, but. Look, I don't want to talk about new video games.
40 minutes in, let's talk about video games.
Let's start talking about video games on a video game podcast. Hey, Best part about this...
Josh, can I deviate real quick? Let's not talk about video games for a second. Today, I went into Barnes & Noble, and they had this Fantastic Beasts lines of Harry Potter statues that are like PVC. They're incredible looking. The detail's so cool on those. And they're like in nice like cases. So like they'll have, Fox the Phoenix from the second book, and he's like in like a glass case, and you put it on the shelf. Oh man, that thing's so cool. So cool. Check those out.
I'm going to pause this podcast real quick and run to Barnes & Noble.
There we
go. Still open, right?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I think I still have one in Phoenix. I think there's still one around me.
Oh, I have one right down the street. Ooh, Hot Topic?
Yeah, they do the buy one, get one at Hot Topic, and they are legit. They are so cool looking, so...
But my skin burns when I walk into Hot Topic.
Oh, that's just... Oh, okay.
Video games. Let's start back in the past. Because new games they're not fun to talk about. We all agree no one here wants to talk about new video games, because get out of here.
Everybody's doing that.
Yeah, this is something different. We're trying to live up to the Trevor Trove standards of podcasting here.
We're the hipsters.
We are. So hip, in fact, we're going to go back to a game that I let our special guest pick from a selection of fine PlayStation titles from back in the day. Trevor, what game would you like to talk about tonight?
I'm going to go with Final Fantasy IX. people think like Final Fantasy VII, that's the big one you got to talk about. I'm like, yeah, Final Fantasy VII gets plenty of credit and it's due, but Final Fantasy IX is where it's at for me. That's of the PlayStation ones, that is my favorite. That's my bread and butter. I'm a lifelong Final Fantasy fan. My favorite game, and the one that you can hear me talk about in my little pilot episode of Trove Talk plug, was Final Fantasy VI. But that was a Super Nintendo game, and even though it did eventually come to the PlayStation in like one of those anthologies back on the PlayStation 1, it's not a PlayStation game. I don't count it. But I did get a PlayStation because of Final Fantasy VII, and it's good. It's fine. It certainly is like probably the most important Final Fantasy game that ever came out. But for me, Final Fantasy IX is as somebody. So Final Fantasy IX, you're basically playing this like little roguish thief in a theater troupe, and theater ends up playing like a huge kind of part in the story. And so as somebody who loved theater and did theater for many, many years, like that element alone kind of cements it as like having a special place in my heart.
Were you in theater when you were playing this game, or did theater come after the fact?
I started doing theater probably around that time.
Okay.
This was back in high school, I think.
Okay.
Maybe middle school, high school. That was when I got into and started doing theater a little bit. So, but I'd always had a passion for theater. I'd always been interested in theater since doing like in fourth grade. I remember we did like a puppet show as like part of a, like, I don't know, I'm sure some organization got a grant to come and teach kids about puppetry, and we did a puppet show, and I got to be the lead in the puppet show because it was my birthday that week, and that was like the whole reason I got cast as the lead in that puppet show was just a fluke of timing, and we were behind. It was like one of those where you're like behind a board and whatnot, so like we actually had the script up on the wall, but me being like super prepared and wanting to be super diligent about it, like I stayed up late nights with my mom learning my lines and memorizing all 100 some odd of my lines in that show, even though they were all going to be like just plastered on the board in front of me.
Sure.
And so yeah, that like I was bit by the theater bug back in that fourth grade puppet show. And then, but yeah, so Final Fantasy IX, theater, like tying that in to the story and kind of having fun with that was certainly enjoyable. Like that's like the last set of Final Fantasy characters I've really loved and enjoyed spending time with in a game. When you get into 10 and 12 and 13, I stopped connecting with those characters. I'm of the mindset that I think Square Enix has been really, especially since Final Fantasy X, but even back with Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, they've kind of started getting away from what I see as like good stories and good characters, and they lean way more heavily into beautiful cinematics and cutscenes and stuff like that, to the point that like they're making an entire movie to go alongside Final Fantasy, or they made an entire movie to go alongside Final Fantasy 15 coming out with Kingsglaive. So I think that's kind of where their focus has been, but back then it was still enough in the story and the characters, and it was a far cry from the brooding emo characters of Squall and Renoa from Final Fantasy VIII, which I hated so very much. 8 got so many things wrong for me that, like, when 9 came along, it was a breath of fresh air. It was a return to kind of the more classic fantasy-based characters, where you had like black mages like Vivi kind of making an appearance, and then also having like this incredible, touching, heartfelt story in Vivi's character arc of learning that he's like a black mage, manufactured. He has a set lifespan. He's managed to kind of outlive it because he's kind of a fluke. But the fact that he, like, this character is coming to terms with his own mortality and his while also being like cute little black magey character was really powerful for where I was in my life. Just kind of like I wasn't getting those kinds of stories. And Final Fantasy kind of has always done that for me, at least up through that point, where it kind of always showed me the stories that video games could tell, while that weren't just Mario jumping and hitting blocks. It was taking deeper dives into storytelling. I would talk about reading all of the text in those games, being more in depth than reading like novels and books for school, because I was reading more text. I was getting richer stories. I was getting more character development than I was getting in some of the stories I was having to read. Like, I don't remember anything from Wuthering Heights, but I remember Final Fantasy IX. Right. Like Heathcliff. That's literally, I think, the only thing I remember of Wuthering Heights is that Heathcliff is a guy in it, and he was in that like Jane Austen family of like kind of jerky guy, but the girl likes him anyway.
Right. I thought Heathcliff was a cat.
Yeah, well, yes, there's that Heathcliff as well.
Oh, he wasn't a Wuthering. Okay.
But this is not the That is not the Wuthering Heights Heathcliff.
Would have been more interesting.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, so yeah, I love the characters. I love the story aspect of kind of, you're in this theater troupe and you're basically kidnapping a princess for a ransom, and then you get thrown into this bigger world in turmoil. And Zidane, I don't know how you want to say it. He's your kind of your main character, and he's lived his life as an outsider because he's this weird little monkey guy who has a tail, and nobody else in this world has tails, even though some of them are really weird looking anyway. He's like his own thing and has never like felt like he belongs until you start meeting the real arch villain of that game, Kuja, who is like one of his species, and they both kind of came there from another dimension, another world. Admittedly, the story gets a little Final Fantasy-y, and it's a little foggy after having not played it really fully in like 10 years. Sure. But it's still it's like, it was a fish out of water story that connected to my love of theater, my passion for theater, and my love of just kind of the stories that Final Fantasy was telling kind of in that golden era of PlayStation 1 RPGs in particular. So like a lot of side quests were so much fun in that. The Tetra Master card game is great, a ton of fun, way better than Triple Triad or whatever was in Final Fantasy VIII, because again, Final Fantasy VIII was just the worst. And
I know Final Fantasy VIII.
The junction system in Final Fantasy VIII is the worst thing that Square Enix has ever done. And I've played Bouncer. It like disincentivizes using magic, because you have to spend hours like drawing the magic out of your enemies, and then you attach it to your characters to like give them crazy buffs, and then you don't want to use those spells because then your characters are going to be weaker and you're going to have to spend hours drawing the magic again. So it was just a very boring loop that drove me crazy in that game, alongside so many other things. So yeah, Final Fantasy VIII is like the bottom of my barrel on the Final Fantasy games. I've got the ones that I love, I've got the ones that are kind of meh and forgettable, and I've got the ones that I hate. And 8 is the bottom of that list, with Final Fantasy 13 and that whole trilogy just slightly above it, because that one was at least pretty. Yeah, so 9 was just again like a big old breath of fresh air, return to form, and we weren't having to deal with horrible voice direction in the Final Fantasy games that started with 10 yet. So it was still like you still could put whatever spin you wanted to on these characters without it being influenced by another's performance, and you didn't end up with embarrassing laughing scenes like Tidus in Final Fantasy X. Yeah, that's kind of the bum rush version of my love of that game. Sure. And I think I've hit like all of the major points I wanted to hit.
So when's the last time you went back and replayed it?
I started it last year. I started playing through it again as like a PS1 classic on my Vita. Mm-hmm. I got last year Square Enix released like nice collector's edition versions of like strategy guides, like a box set for the strategy guides for 7, 8, and 9. And so I picked those up, and I went through and replayed Final Fantasy 7 earlier this year when it was on PS4. And I would love to do the same thing with 9 if they ever brought it to PS4 in that same vein. But since they haven't, I did sit down with it and got probably a couple hours into it before I got busy working on and playing with other things.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a nice, like, I have very fond memories of it. There are certainly things that don't hold up as well in this day and age, but it's still like the nostalgia bug hits me on that one, and it hits hard.
Yeah. Colin, did you ever play this?
So I played it very, very briefly. I didn't have a PlayStation. I've said this before, till the very end of the systems generation. I had a 64. That was my system that I had as a kid. But I did play this at a friend's house, and I remember not only the friend that had the PlayStation, but other friends that had PlayStation 2 really was disenchanted with Final Fantasy IX because it went away from the I wouldn't say realistic, but more like anime-looking characters that looked really like mature, quote unquote, to more sprite-based, which is kind of what you saw on the Super Nintendo and the NES. But it wasn't later on until I found out, the hardcore Final Fantasy people say 9 is, superior game than 8. A lot of people say that. And even people say it's better than 7. And looking at it, like I did a little bit of research on it, and looking at it is the reason why you're saying the story's better is probably because Sakaguchi was still there. Like Tetsuya Nomura is an amazing art designer, but I don't think he ever fully fleshes out a story the way that I feel like it should be fleshed out. Like you look at the Kingdom Hearts series, which I adore and love. I'm a huge Kingdom Hearts fan, but like that story is so convoluted, and you have to do Wikipedia to Google to YouTube to theories just to figure out what the heck one scene means. You know what I mean? Like it's really bizarre. But it sounds like Sakaguchi, like he took a narrative, a really tight narrative in every single one of his games, and it reflects to it. Like you are speaking about how much you enjoyed the story, even if you don't know the specifics, you can remember this was a great story. Yeah. Versus Final Fantasy VIII, you're saying you hated the mechanics. You didn't even mention the story, which means the story's probably pretty forgettable.
I mean, I hated the story in 8 too.
So there you go. Yeah. And I wonder. So you said Final Fantasy VII is the most important, right? You said that, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think Final Fantasy VII is the most important?
Because it's the one that got people to play JRPGs. It's the one that introduced those in a much bigger sense to the West. Like I was a fan of Final Fantasy, like I said, growing up from even the Nintendo, and then the Super Nintendos are the Super Nintendo ones of 6 and 4, which were 2 and 3 here, are my favorites. And because this is back in the days where we didn't have internet, I didn't know that 6 was renamed 3 here. Right. So when my friend who has a PlayStation is playing Final Fantasy VII, I'm like, they made 4 more games? Oh, I need to get on this. And it was the first PlayStation game I played because I would play it at his house before I had a PlayStation myself. And even at my youth pastor's house at that time, he had a PlayStation. So when we had like events and barbecues and stuff at his house, I would be sitting in there playing Final Fantasy VII and like gambling in the gold saucer because that's a great Christian thing to do. But I would like, those were my first memories, and those are a lot of people's first memories with that kind of game, because people who hadn't necessarily gotten into them on Nintendo saw the graphics, which were incredible at the time, and the cutscenes and stuff, and it drew them in. It was the system seller for many people for the original PlayStation. So that's why I think it's the more important and obviously the more iconic one, since that's the well that they keep going back to, much to my chagrin. But so that's like Final Fantasy VII. Somebody like I could have easily come on here and talked about how great that game is too. It's not a bad game, but it does have a lot of like pieces that fall apart for me, especially in the late game, which a lot of people just like, they remember it more fondly because they haven't gone back to it maybe in 20 years. But when like, there are some story things in there where it's like, none of this makes sense anymore, guys. What are we doing? Whereas Final Fantasy, like all Final Fantasies have that, but I feel like 9 is a bit tighter. And I also would be remiss to neglect Nobuo Uematsu's contributions, which he's like every Final Fantasy he works on leaves iconic themes, but some of the best and some of my favorites are from 9. As well as 7 and 6 and 4, and those are my top 4 out of the whole series that I've played all through all of them except for like the online RPG ones. I haven't played 11 or 14, but having played through all of them in my ranking, it's 6, 4, 9, and 7, and I realized at some point as I was looking at those games and what makes so many of them stand out for me is that it is the story, and more importantly, it is the characters, and specifically like the villain in each of those games, or at least like the main villains that you get. So, some of them are like you find out later are like just kind of minions of the main big bad, who you're only going to get like a final boss battle with, and then you actually learn about him like an hour before the end of the game, because he was controlling the puppets and whatnot. But when you have characters like Kefka, you have characters like Kain or Golbez in 4. You have someone like Sephiroth in 7, and then you have Kuja in 9. Like those are the colorful characters that I remember from my youth in particular. So there's certainly a nostalgia lens to all of those games, but like I could not tell you outside of Seymour in 10. I could not tell you who the big bad of 12 was, who the big bad of any of the 13 games was. They just don't they didn't resonate with me, and those are even fresher in my mind because I have played them more recently. But those are like some of the standout elements for a good Final Fantasy game for me, at least.
I see. I just wonder if, a lot of people do consider 7 the most important, but I'm curious if it wasn't a commercial success, if it would still be considered that, because graphically, yes, it was amazing at the time, and honestly, like the audio too was just amazing through the PlayStation. There's a couple key story elements that was really surprising, lots of twists. The main thing with, spoiler alert, Aerith dying is hugely controversial. Like,
you didn't even give people a chance.
Well, sorry if you haven't played it. I don't know what you're doing. Sorry. But there seems to be like a retrospect of that game, and a lot of the hardcore Final Fantasy people, fans, and I dabbled in Final Fantasy. I'm not a hardcore fan by any means, but the community tend to say that 6 is the best one. So I'm curious where this like passion and love for 7 being like the best one in the series, when like the hardcore Final Fantasy people that have played every single game still say that 6 is not only narratively better, but also mechanically better. And a lot of people even argue that the music is better than 7.
Yeah, and I am one of those people. But I think I still would stand by 7 being more important, because 6 is the best if you've played all of them. But people, like, very few people have played all of them. Related to the people who played 7.
Do you think 7 is the easiest, the easier, more accessible than the other games in the series, or is it just because people were more open-minded because the PlayStation didn't have that JRPG experience quite yet before 7?
Yeah, I think it's more that. I think it's like, I think any of them, I mean, like, none of them are tied to one another. So you could jump into any of them really as kind of an introductory point. But I think 7 was that introductory point for a lot of people. Like the big thing with Aerith, like that, while yes, like a great strong narrative moment, it wasn't a new moment to me because I had lived through Tella dying, who's again like the character who like I've modeled my little pin version of me after. He sacrifices himself. It's him even choosing to do it in Final Fantasy IV for the good of the team, as opposed to the shocker death in 7.
Yeah.
So a key party member dying relatively early on in the game was not a new, like, it wasn't breathtaking and shocking to me. It was again still a good moment because it does drive the characters kind of into the second and third acts of that game with the discs. And so it's good to know that you are fighting for something in that game. But yeah, I would say the bigger reason it 7 stands out as like the important one is because it did help make. I mean, it even helped make PlayStation a thing. It helped make PlayStation survive. Like I came to PlayStation because that's where Final Fantasy was, and that's where I could get Final Fantasy 7. I having, as much as I loved 2 and 3 at that time, or 4 and 6, like I when those didn't come to at the N64, I was like, okay, well, I need to go get that PlayStation thing then, because I want to keep playing Final Fantasy.
Yeah, and that was a big deal too. So
yeah, so it was a big thing to keep those like me on board and get people on, but then also people who weren't playing Final Fantasy, like people who had never played an RPG before, were seeing Final Fantasy 7 in the commercials and like, I want that, I need to get that,
right?
And would go out and get a system to play Final Fantasy 7. So yeah, again, that's its place in like the history of the PlayStation is why it ends up as a more iconic one. But again, from personal preference and the elements that I love in a Final Fantasy game, 9 edges it out in terms of quality and characters and story and even gameplay. Like it introduced a new thing where you could get like optional side stories, so you can just kind of blaze through the game if you want to, or you can see what these characters are doing while your main party is off doing this other thing, which was a fun, novel way of telling those stories, completely optional. Just a lot of fun little elements and memories like that. I enjoy in the spell system in that game. You learn spells over time based on like the equipment you're wearing. So if you're using a fire staff, you'll learn fire after you get 30 points or something like that, and then you can switch equipment to get another spell. It was a good change of pace, especially from the draw system, but even from the materia system of 7. The characters in 9 are like one of the last instances we had where each character has their set of skills, and that's it. You can't make everybody like a beast like you can in the later games, and even in Final Fantasy 7, where you could just like anybody can have any materia. But like 9 was the last time we really had characters that only Steiner is going to be able to use the power break and the armor break stuff and weaken your opponents, and only Zidane can use the thief move set, and only Vivi is your black mage. So it was
is Vivi the little Orko looking guy?
Little Orko looking guy.
Do you know what Orko is?
Orko
from He-Man.
I mean, yes, he's that guy.
Okay.
I have enough of a reference point for He-Man, thanks to Robot Chicken.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was the first out of that game for me, is seeing that the little magician guy. I was like, man, he's looked really cool. I wonder what his actual character is going to look like, because looking at 7, you watch that amazing, intro cutscene, and then you actually see the character models, and you're like, oh, interesting. But like with 9, they show the cutscene, and the characters look pretty similar. Like they didn't change them a whole lot, and I actually liked that a lot more, because I felt like it was a little bit less distracting, I guess, watching someone else play it. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, certainly, like 7 being the first of the 3D ones, they certainly had like a rough patch of what the characters looked like in the cutscenes versus the even more blocky versions of them, like when in the actual playing space, versus the versions of them that you get when you're doing a fight sequence.
Right, which is so like weird to me. Even looking back now, it still is kind of weird, but I understand why they chose to do that, obviously.
Yeah, but yeah, by I mean it progressively got better and tighter and more uniform in 8 and then 9. And to what you were talking about earlier of your friend who hated 9 because of like the more anime stuff that you got in 7 and 8, and the like 7 was very steampunk, and then 8 was also kind of much more in a future setting. both of those were missing in the fantasy-ness of Final Fantasy IV.
Right.
They were great. I mean, like I 7 I like the setting of. 8 I like parts of the setting, but again, the rest of that game is just a garbage on fire. And then 9 was a return to like the classics, and so something I hadn't gotten in 6 or 7 years since the Super Nintendo ones, and even like. I mean, even that the Super Nintendo Final Fantasy VI is more steampunk than it is fantasy necessarily. So it was even going back to Final Fantasy IV, where you had more distinct black mages, white mages, those kinds of character models. It was that there is like a very nostalgic within nostalgia thought with VB, because that little childlike version of a black mage, it was like a grown-up version of the characters that I'd played with in Final Fantasy IV 10 years earlier.
Yeah.
And so it was cool to see how they had taken that kind of model from 2D to 3D. And so even playing that game, I can be nostalgic for an earlier game because of something like that.
That's really cool. The last thing I want to ask you is, what do you think of Final Fantasy 15?
So I got to play an hour of it at PAX.
Mm-hmm.
Since playing, so I played like the episode Duskai demo when that came out. I bought Type 0, never touched Type 0, but I played the episode Duskai.
Me too.
And it was very heavy and clunky, and
yeah, it really was.
seemed to be kind of continuing in the vein of, this is not what I'm looking for in Final Fantasy. I get that there are people who are liking it, but I was very turned off by that. And then the Platinum demo that came out earlier this year, that little like thing that they did after the big like event announcement with Carbuncle, was more of the same. It was a little bit faster, but it was still like, so much of it still felt sluggish. And so I was not holding out hope. But yeah, with my little PAX Media badge, I was like, ooh, I get to get on the show floor early. I'm gonna go suck it up and try Final Fantasy 15, not knowing it was going to be an hour-long demo. And I was like popping trophies in it too. I'm sitting there. I was one of the first people on that station that day, so I loaded up and I popped probably half a dozen trophies, and I was like, I'm pretty sure this game is done. I'm pretty sure I'm playing like a final build of this game if it's popping trophies and stuff. All on a guest account, because I didn't think to just log in on my own. But yeah, it's still more action heavy than I would like. I am a fan of the old turn-based kind of that mechanic. But as far as it's certainly in line of like the Kingdom Hearts combat a little bit more.
Yeah, it's 100% what they're going to be using in Kingdom Hearts 3. It's the exact same engine.
Yeah.
And that's, what got me super excited about it. That's one of the main reasons why like Final Fantasy I've always appreciated for the characters, the narrative, the music. The only turn-based game I can really get into is Pokemon, and I think it's just because it's so simplistic. And there's like one other turn-based game that I played called Costume Quest by Double Fine that was also super simple. But for some reason, I just get really bored really quickly for the very like in-depth turn-based stuff. So Final Fantasy 15 really speaks to me, and I haven't been this excited about a Final Fantasy game since 13, which is the one where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try. It's the next gen Final Fantasy. I'm gonna try it out and see, what the hype is about the series. And I got about 8 hours into it, and I was just like, I'm just walking in a straight line for 8 hours. Like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, and this is definitely not that. This is definitely they like from the first get-go, you're in an open world. You do have like a couple linear quests that you have to go through to just as like the tutorial basically. Mm-hmm. But it is like, the objective's over there, but I could also just go and kill a whole bunch of stuff this way and do that for hours on end. Giant world. The other thing that again had me super concerned was like right from the off, the characters are talking to each other, and it's supposed to be like funny banter because their car's broken down, and so you're pushing. You have to like push the R2 button to kind of like push the car while they have some of this banter back and forth, and so it's like it's an incredibly slow start, and I'm like, why? This is not fun. I'm inching this car along while these characters who very clearly were not recording their lines with one another, because it'll be like person 1 says something, person 2 says something, person 3 laughs, ha ha ha, and that's like the when I say they're in Final Fantasy and Square Enix in there is interested in making very pretty games, they are, and they excel at that, but they're not making good story. They're not getting good performances. Like when you have somebody like Troy Baker in Final Fantasy 13, and he sounds incredibly wooden through all of those games, and like he's just bored to be there. It's heartbreaking, and I did not see that like changing in my hour with the game. It's still very wooden characters that the timing in the lines, it just doesn't feel natural like it does in something like a BioWare game where you're running around with your party, and they're cracking jokes at each other's expense and stuff, and it feels fluid and natural in something like Mass Effect or Dragon Age.
I would be curious if on the, someone in Japan were playing Mass Effect or, BioShock or something else narrative driven, to see if they feel the same way, because I wonder if it's like a lost in translation thing, because it's a Japanese developed game, so I don't know if that's dialogue, acting, whatever, but like the actual like written dialogue is primarily a translation, and I wonder if that's just because it is Japanese first and it's just hard to, I guess, make it relevant for our audience.
Yeah, sense. And that's a great point. It's not even necessarily, for me, it wasn't even what they were saying though. It was much more in how it was programmed and performed.
Okay.
In that, like, character 2 says something and it's very clear that they didn't know how character 1 said it.
Right.
And it strikes very intimately for me as an actor and whatnot who's done theater for a decade, because any good actor will tell you like 90% of acting is reacting, and so if you're not actually reacting to anything in the sound studio there where you're recording the lines, you're not feeding off of anything, and that's what those games have sounded like to me. You'll get occasional glimmers of hope, like John DiMaggio, voice of Bender, voice of Marcus Phoenix, is Waka in Final Fantasy X, and he's one of the highlights in that game, because he's just, even though he has no idea how other people are delivering the lines, he's having a great time with it, and he's being boisterous, and they let him do that. And that's why, like, I try and specifically clarify that I don't think it's the voice acting is the problem, it's the voice direction. It's that whoever's trying to get these performances out of these actors are content with a first take, and they're not giving much direction, and they're not saying like, oh, this is what you're going through in this moment. It just sounds like, read the lines, we've got to get back to making this a very pretty game.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. When you say that, I hope that it has, like a lot of modern games they have an option for a voice slider, so you can keep like the music and the sound effects going, and actually have the dialogue like cranked down, and then you can just throw subtitles on, and then just call it good that way.
Yeah, I imagine they probably do. I mean, at least they have. I'm sure they at least have something where you can like turn the like the dialogue options down, and that did remind me of one of the other nice things. They definitely like hitting the nostalgia buttons on that one, because it's a road trip game. You're driving around in the car, and you can select music from past Final Fantasies to play in the car when you're like traveling from place to place. But the car in and of itself is another. I'll be very curious to see if they tweak it or how it plays, because it was another thing that felt really heavy. Driving did not feel good in that game. When I think of like a good driving game, I don't play racing games or anything, but like I'll play a Grand Theft Auto and at least feel like I have the freedom to move around in a game like that. And the driving in this was like, nope, you're pretty much going to be on rails. You can maybe turn a little bit in your lanes and stuff, but you're mostly just like going from point A to point B. And so I got like I drove myself once, and then I was like, nope, I'm just gonna let the like do the auto drive thing and let the characters kind of talk and have the music playing on the background and just kind of enjoy the ride a little bit, which is I mean, it's certainly a great approach if that's kind of the mantra of the game ends up being like it's about the journey, not the destination necessarily.
Yeah.
It is nice that I can just kind of, with a push of a button, not have to deal with those clunky mechanics, and maybe even they're encouraged to just push the button and just kind of sit back and enjoy the music, the scenery, the story that's kind of unfolding around you, as opposed to trying to do all of that while you're also pushing this brick around the roads of Final Fantasy Land, whatever this world is called.
Final Fantasy Land.
I don't remember if this one's called Ivalice or Gaia or whatever. Like they definitely have a few like common stock names that they call their worlds, and I just don't remember which one this is, which one this goes by. But yeah, I mean, the driving and if you drove any of the cars in like the Platinum demo, it felt like that, which was very just heavy, didn't turn well, didn't handle well. So I hope they either they made that a conscious choice and are trying to do something with it, or they tweak it and just make it feel better. But we'll see. I definitely I totally get that I've been very down on it, but I left playing that demo more excited for the game than I'd been in probably 6 or 7 years, which it sucks already that I have to say I've been waiting that long for a game. But when it was first coming out, I hadn't been burned by the other Final Fantasy 13s yet, because that was originally going to be Final Fantasy 13 Versus. I don't even remember. Like, I imagine that probably got announced like either right before or right after 12 was coming out, and I wasn't playing 12 like with a critical eye yet, so I was still just kind of enjoying 12 when this game got announced. So I was excited for it for a while, and then it fell off a cliff, and I was like, that game's never going to come out. And when it started like reemerging, I was like, I don't care. This doesn't look like the game. Like Final Fantasy 13, all of those games just made me angry. So I don't care about Final Fantasy 15 now that you're calling it that. Every like touch of the game I'd had with the 2 demos that I'd played, I was like, nope, I'm going to play it because I'm playing every Final Fantasy game, but I do not see myself liking this. And leaving the hour demo I got at PAX, I was pleasantly surprised. It still has definitely a lot of things that I think I'll have issues with, but more positives than negatives.
I'm just scared that, it seems like in a lot of interviews, and this could be lost in translation, but it seems like a lot of interviews that it's pretty dire for this series. Like if this one doesn't do like a specific set of numbers, like that series could be in trouble. I mean, if you look at the amount of money that they're putting into marketing, it's insane. Like it's as big as like a Halo game, which I haven't really seen. I can't remember the last time a JRPG has had this much of a marketing push with anime, with movies, with they've been doing like mobile tie-in games, 2 demos. Like it's insane to me how much they're putting into 15 and how much they're banking on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the series will be in trouble, because I think Final Fantasy 14 is making money hand over fist for them in its MMO model.
Yeah.
So I'm sure Square Enix is doing just fine on that front, and even their like I play every day. I on my phone I play Final Fantasy Record Keeper, which is one of their mobile ones. I don't put any money into it, but I know tons of people do, and they're making good money on. Square Enix as a whole makes good money on their mobile games. Probably, I think I even saw numbers recently. They make more on mobile games than they do on their big console releases.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
So that kind of stuff, I'm sure, is paying for this kind of spectacle. But one of the things that back when they announced the anime and when they announced Kingsglaive and all that stuff, one of the things, I don't remember who pointed it out. It might have been Tim Geddes from Kind of Funny, who was hosting that event. They pointed out that like it's been 20 years basically that we've been occasionally getting a Final Fantasy VII story every couple of years. We had the first game, then you had Advent Children, the movie, and then you had the Dirge of Cerberus on PlayStation 2, and then you had Crisis Core on the PSP. So every few years you're getting you're getting a new Final Fantasy story from Final Fantasy VII. Whereas this one, it's the opposite. They're saying, we're going to give you all of this side content like right out the gate. The theory, I guess, behind that would be like, we love this world so much that we couldn't contain it to one game. We wanted to tell all these stories in all these different mediums. And rather than dole that out to you over the next 10, 15 years, here it is all at once. Maybe that's what's been taking so long. Who knows? But here's all of this stuff that you can enjoy like from day one. With when this game comes out, you'll have all these other side stories that are kind of filling in maybe backstory or telling you more about the history of this world. So yeah, I think it's a bold move on that on their part, and if it does well for them, it could lead into other continued stories within this universe, and maybe a Final Fantasy 15-2 or something like that, since they gave us 3 of the crappy 13.
3 games nobody wanted.
3 games nobody wanted, and I attest that they were 3 games that they just wanted to make and didn't want to deal with the hassle of coming up with new character models, so they just used the ones they had from 13, because even the character consistency across those 3 games is just all over the place. Like Lightning in 1, completely different character than Lightning in 2, and completely different character than Lightning in 3. Same with Hope. I just look at those games and I'm like, this is only the character from the last game because you just used the same assets. This is not. This is a completely different person, same voice and same look, but like nothing about what they did in the last game is fueling this character now. And so that's I could continue going off on things that I don't like about Final Fantasy, but I do still stand by that the series as a whole has more fond memories for me than negative ones. So
I'm just glad that you're on here and talking about it. I'm always interested in like games that I never fully dived into, but I know there's such a passionate fan base for. So I'm really glad that we have your perspective on this game tonight. So yeah, that's awesome.
And honestly, I've been sitting here so quiet because I am the shining example as to why Final Fantasy VII is regarded as probably the most influential one, because that is the only Final Fantasy game I have ever touched.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of people. I mean, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I liked it, and the best part about it for me was that it turned me into Parasite Eve, which I loved even more so.
That's an absolutely solid one, and that's one that I rented, but didn't stick around with, or didn't ever go back and get in the day. And it's one of those that I've always wanted to go back to. Parasite Eve 2. I got the PSP one, the birthday.
Third birthday.
Third birthday, and then I just never played it. My PSP was pretty much my Final Fantasy device.
Right.
I played all of the ports that they brought to the PSP, and then I played Dissidia and Crisis Core on it. And I had Third Birthday. I just never I could never I would look at it and be like, not today.
One day,
maybe later. Someday.
Yeah.
And then I also played a ton of Texas Hold'em on my PSP.
Sure.
But it was pretty much my classic Final Fantasy device was my PSP.
Yeah.
With Third Birthday being one of the other 2 or 3 games that I had for the system, even if I never opened it.
Right. So that's a lot of Final Fantasy talk. I wish I had more to say about it, but you did an excellent job. Colin, thank you for helping with the conversation, because I had nothing to add. Trevor's just sitting over here talking about all kinds of stuff that is just right over my head.
I will say I was very glad when Final Fantasy 4 or 7 came and they put it on PlayStation 4 and gave it trophies and everything, because I went through, played it. I was especially glad that they in the port version that they made, they gave it you can play it at 3 times speed, because that's, I think, one of the biggest hurdles of going back to some of those old games is that they're long, they're grind fests, and so being able to play through it and rush through it at 3 times speed definitely made it much more manageable. And doing that, I was able to, and grinding through in, a third of the time, I was able to finally, for the first time in 20 years, beat all of the weapons and do everything in that game. So it was very rewarding.
Sure.
I even with like the Game Shark back in the day, I didn't bother dealing with the weapons in those games. And I think only in one version of it, because I even had it. I think I even had it like on PC before I had it on PlayStation, because I think like they came out with a PC version of the game that ran horribly on like my 90s laptop. But I played it on there, and I think on there is the only place I ever even bothered like getting a gold chocobo and Knights of the Round and stuff. Until this time around, I was able to just kind of play through everything, got the platinum for it, and it's up there as one of my proudest platinums, because I'm like, this was 20 years in the making, and I finally got it. So yeah, that's my kind of probably my last thoughts on Final Fantasy VII. I would love to see them do more of those kinds of remakes where they just throw in some little extra mechanic like that, where you can just play the game 3 times as fast and make it that much easier for people new and old to come back to those games.
Yeah, because we as gamers don't have time for that kind of stuff anymore.
Exactly.
There's too much stuff to play.
Especially as old gamers.
Tell me about it.
Our jobs and our billion podcasts that we got to do.
House full of kids, and no big deal.
I don't have to deal with that one yet, thankfully.
Oh, trust me, it's the best joy in the world. But you know what? God, they're such a time suck, man. Colin.
Yes.
Before we get into what we really brought Trevor on to talk about, which is PlayStation VR, you had put a couple little news notes that you wanted to touch on real quick for this episode, specifically pertaining to PlayStation, including a console launch, which feels like it's kind of going in under the radar a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, I forgot today was PS4 Pro Day.
Yeah. Everyone's too worried about tomorrow's console launch instead.
Yeah, very true.
What else did you have on there, Colin?
So BlizzCon, they announced that they're doing a Diablo 1 HD remake for free within Diablo 3, and that does pertain to the console versions as well. It's kind of funny because they still only go in 8 directions, so it's still like super like blocky in the way that they move around. But it's still exciting, and it's still great that it's a free thing. And I'm just stoked for it. So I just wanted to add that. And then the PS4 Pro, I mean, I don't know. Do you guys want to add on to that at all?
I have like nothing really to say on the PS4 Pro. I
have
think,
no need for it.
Yeah, my system's still working fine. If it craps the bed, I didn't get it at launch, but I got it like close enough to launch that I've had it for a while. And even with PSVR, like it's running fine. Mm-hmm. I don't. If I start hearing stories of like, oh yeah, it cuts load times in half or something like that, then I'm more inclined to get it. But it is a weird like half measure for PlayStation to kind of bring this out. And if my system dies, I'll look probably more at getting that than one of the Slims.
Right.
But right now my old girl's doing just fine.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly how I feel too.
And then Overwatch this weekend?
Oh yeah, so Overwatch is going to be free next weekend, actually.
Oh, okay.
Then that's going to be on all the consoles and PC as well. So if you want to try it out, I do recommend playing the game. It's a whole lot of fun, and it's going to be like $35 on Black Friday. So that's going to give you like a good test to see if you want to pick that up that weekend after. So
then you can spend thousands of dollars on getting all them loot crates.
Don't do that. That ruins the metagame.
I just got back into Overwatch a little bit. I sat down and played some of it last night because I didn't connect to it when it came out, but I enjoy it. I can see why people enjoy it, but I just didn't. And then one of my friends was like, "Hey, I'm gonna play some Overwatch," and so I was like, "Oh, it's been a long week. Let me let me hop on. We can hang out and visit. But then he's in Vegas, and so I forgot that with daylight savings time having ended, that you guys are all like an hour behind us here in Phoenix again, since we don't change our time zones. So I was like, he didn't get home until I basically had to get to bed for work this morning. So I was like, sorry, I missed you, dude. But I did dive in a little bit beforehand. It's fun, great mechanics, great shooter. Just hasn't connected to me. I'm not like huge multiplayer online gamer, but
yeah, I'm not really either. Like, I think Splatoon kind of like brought me back to doing that, and Overwatch just reminded me so much of Splatoon for some reason, and it really, like, they're not really similar games at all, but they're both rewarding. They feel rewarding even when you lose. So, and I don't feel good when I play Call of Duty. Like, I feel stressed.
Nobody feels good when they play Call of Duty.
I'm just saying, like, I don't feel good. Like, I feel stressed, and when I do win, I'm like, I don't even feel good about winning in that game. So,
yeah,
there are no winners in war, Colin.
Yeah, that's true. For darn sure.
Also, Trevor, how dare you chastise us because of Arizona being the black sheep of the United States?
What? It's the time just never changes here. It really just kind of sucks for us, actually, because since everybody else changes their time, it means that, like, oh, all of the shows that I watch are now an hour earlier, an hour later, and because we didn't change the time, I forget that other people changed the time.
You have to adjust to everybody else type of thing?
Exactly, yeah. It's like, oh, okay, now Colin and Greg Live is on at noon instead of 11 for me. Great, thanks. Thanks, Obama.
Oh, goodness, that's going to be missed. Let's talk about some PlayStation VR. I'm antsy to talk about PlayStation VR. I have a PlayStation VR unit. Trevor, you have one as well.
I do. Yep.
Colin, you do not have one, but you do have one at work, and you came over this weekend and you played a whole bunch on mine. So I feel like you're probably qualified enough to stick around for this conversation, kid. So hang in there. Do what you can.
I will.
Okay. First of all, so Trevor, what's been your favorite experience in the PlayStation VR so far? Not necessarily game, but just like that moment where you're just like, this works.
So the first thing I put in when I got it home, because it came while I was in San Francisco for the IGN 20th anniversary party. Like, it showed up basically when I landed in San Francisco. My mom was kind enough to pick it up from my house, so it wasn't sitting on my porch for 4 days until
I'm
I got
sure
back.
It'd be safe.
Yeah. But the first thing I put on when I got it back was Batman Arkham VR, and that opening, like the load screen or the main menu or whatever, where you're sitting on top of the GCPD and like the rain's coming down on you and you've got the bat signal behind you. Like, the rain coming down in particular, I think is that memory for me, because as somebody, as an Arizonan who's lived here my entire life, rain's a little bit of a rarity here.
What is
significantly less so. It's not a big deal for you out there, but yeah, for me, just kind of like the rain coming down and looking up and seeing the drops kind of come around me, and then being able to kind of look over the ledge and do that stuff. That was a very powerful moment in my VR experience so far.
Colin, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be Batman. Like, Batman is the excuse to get a PSVR. Like, I shouldn't say excuse. It's the reason to get a PSVR. Like, it's those type of experiences that people like. Experience in itself is great, and it's very immersive, and it's really fun too. It's fun to be goofy. I had a ton of fun looking. There's a sequence, in the game where you see a mirror and you see yourself as Batman and just doing goofy things. And seeing Batman do goofy things because you're doing goofy things is the greatest. Even though it stressed you the heck out, Josh.
Yeah.
It stressed me out too. Like, are you talking the ending there?
No, watching Colin play, because I think that game is meant to probably be finished in about probably 2-hour experience, right?
Oh, okay.
Colin ran through it in maybe 25 minutes. And I was like, you're not even looking at the environment, like you're not even paying attention to what's going on. You're just haphazardly throwing batarangs around, and
that was the best part, though.
Grappling. This was on the stream, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that might have been like the part of the stream I tuned in on.
Oh god, I lost my mind.
I don't even know if I said anything in there, but I did come by and lurk a little bit. And like I just saw like skipping right through the sewers.
Yeah.
Just like boom, 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 boom. and yeah, I think I even heard you talking like, what? You're not even looking at anything. What are you doing?
I just remember looking up. I'm like, how are you already here? Like, this isn't supposed to happen this quick.
Yeah, so it was a couple of reasons. One, it was I didn't think it would be very good for the stream if I took like a meticulous amount of time to like look at everything. And two, I in my mind I was like, man, I want to play all of your VR games because I don't want to spend all my time on Batman as much as I love Batman. And I know, like, I had heard before that it was only like a couple hours long. I didn't realize I could get through it in like 20 minutes, but I was like, I can beat Batman. So once I beat Batman, which is supposedly the best one, I can move on to other stuff. But it's incredible. Like it's the weirdest thing. Like it clicks as soon as you use it, right? So the PSVR, you understand where games are going to go. You understand the potential of where things are going to go. And you feel, I don't know, I felt like it was absolutely groundbreaking in the same way that I was hoping 3D was going to be for both cinema and for gaming, and it just never really clicked. Like, this honestly feels more 3D, which is kind of weird, than 3D technology was.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For me, my personal favorite has been not only just because it was my personal favorite experience so far, but because it's been the one that I've shared the most with other people, and that was the shark experience in the VR Worlds game.
Uh-huh.
I feel like that is the perfect, you're not holding a controller, you don't have to worry about the move controllers, you just sit down and just everything works with you looking around with the headset. That's all you need. And one of my all-time favorite games, like this is something I rarely talk about because, one, people don't know it exists, or B, people laugh at me because it's a ridiculous favorite game to have. But on
Echo the Dolphin.
Close. Nintendo Wii, they came out with a game called Endless Ocean Blue World.
Which was close. That was pretty close.
Yeah. It's a sequel to the first Endless Ocean game. In case you didn't know, there was 2 of them. But it's just, I love that game so much. I adore it with every fiber of my being because there is something about undersea aquatic life that I have always been drawn to my entire life, and being able to play a virtual representation of this giant vast ocean with all these creatures that I just absolutely love, it was such an amazing experience for me. Even though like the gameplay part of Endless Ocean was subpar at best, just being in that world and being able to just swim around and see all these fish and creatures was amazing. So then when I played this shark experience game in the VR Worlds disc, I'm like, this is what I wanted like my whole life. Like, I am underwater, I am looking at jellyfish floating past me, and I'm messing around with little fish that come in the cage, and I'm watching these sea turtles pass by, and it has like the cheesiness of like the taking out the radioactivity and whatnot, but then like the shark attack itself is just, it's something that you can't fully explain to somebody without having them just need to experience it for themselves. Like, they could be watching it on the TV and you're like, okay, there's a shark coming at you, whatever. But you put that on, you put the headphones on, and everybody else in the room is just quiet and just lets you just experience what's going on. It's one of those moments of gaming that's like, this is like Colin said, this is where gaming is heading. Like, this is the next step for video games. And, you know, I let my fiance, she watched me play through the shark thing. She knew what was coming, beat for beat, everything. And then she's like, okay, I gotta try it. And then she put it on and she tried it, and she was just as scared as I was, even though she had just seen what was going to happen, and nothing changed. Nothing was different about it at all. But it was that moment of it feeling like it's right there in front of you and it's real. And I've let, my kids, I put it on all the kids and let them play it, because again, watching it is one thing, but then like just experiencing it is something else. And it's only, it takes like 15 minutes or something to get through, but it's just, it perfectly embodies what the VR technology is meant to do. And it's meant to completely immerse you in the video game that you're playing.
Yeah, while Colin was talking, and it bounces right off of what you're talking about. One of the other great experiences I had was the first night I was playing it, and was playing through Batman Arkham. My ex-girlfriend came by, and we were visiting a little bit, and she like saw the system, and so I like let her try it on while I was in the morgue. In there in Batman Arkham VR, and she was blown away by it. So like letting somebody else get that experience is another, like, that's a really cool moment that you can have kind of in VR, like giving that experience to somebody else. So the Ocean Descent is absolutely like that's my go-to, and that's what I've like told my family, like when we all like get together for the holidays or something, I'll bring the system over and let them try something like that. Where it isn't like they don't need to play a game. It's just they put on the headset and they get to experience something that they've never experienced before.
Right. Yeah. And with Valerie, after she played that, she wanted to play something else in the VR worlds, and she played, I can't remember what it's called, the mech game that's in there.
The Scavenger's Odyssey.
Yeah. So she started playing that, and as intense as it was, she immediately shut down because she had to control what was going on, and she had to shoot, and she had to, move along in the world and everything like that. And she was like, "This isn't the VR experience I want. I want to experience it, not participate in it."
Right.
Yeah.
Unrelated to VR, unless they maybe do a patch or something. But have you played Abzu, Josh?
It's downloaded, it's waiting. I haven't been able to just get a couple hours to myself to just sit down and just be that game, because that's a game I feel like I need to shut down everything else around me.
That seems like one you'll enjoy. Yeah.
God, if they patched it for VR,
and that's one of the experiences I've played. I played it like just as a normal PS4 game first. That's called Bound. And then they patched in a VR mode to it, where you're basically like, it's a third person like platformery kind of game, very artistic art style and stuff, less so than like a story, but it very beautiful, and like the VR mode is basically like you are the camera, and so you can look around the beautiful world that you're in while also still controlling the character third person. And so something like Abzu, which is like underwater journey, is basically the easiest way to describe it. Based on your love of oceanography there. I think it'll definitely be it, because I totally get what you're saying with Ocean Descent, and I think Abzu did like feeling like you're in this breathtaking underwater world even better, even though it's not as immersive as Ocean Descent. So I think you'll definitely get a kick out of that game when you finally get around to it.
Yeah,
I really want to play that one too.
So what are some other games? What are some other games that we've played that we're enjoying in PSVR, Trevor?
Job Simulator is probably a standout.
Yeah,
that was a ton of fun. Just kind of like all of the ludicrousness in that. And on that, one of the other things I got to play at PAX that hasn't been announced for PSVR, but since it's the same team that did Job Simulator, I'm sure it will come to VR, is Virtual Reality, which is the Rick and Morty VR game.
Oh, okay.
That's like I got to play like a preview of it or something, and it was a ton of fun. Totally nails the humor of that show. Has the involvement of Jason Roiland, I think is the guy's name, the guy who plays Rick, Morty, and like one of the creators of the show. He's like punching up scripts and stuff, and then also doing all the voices for it. And yeah, it was a ton of fun. It like the same kind of gameplay as Job Simulator, where you are just kind of and a lot of the same humor. It was weird playing that first and then playing Job Simulator and being like did he write both of them? No, he didn't write this one, but like there are moments in Job Simulator where you can like listen to what's going on like the radio or something, and I'm like that. I feel like I'm in a background gag of Rick and Morty right now. This is very odd. But yeah, so that was a ton of fun. Tonight, in advance of coming on here, because I haven't, admittedly, I've been like, I delved into like AAA shooter realm for the last few weeks. So I hadn't played my PSVR recently, but I jumped into Rigs for a little bit tonight and Eve Valkyrie, and both of those are a lot of fun. If I can figure out a better way to have my my playing space set up, because, and I ran into this a little bit with like Batman and Job Simulator. I'm finding myself having to like reconfigure my room differently for every game that I play because because the camera is reading things differently.
Yeah.
and
that sounds familiar.
And the camera's sitting on top of my like my big screen TV, like aimed down. It's not reading me sitting on my chair there. So it's like I'm having to futz with like everything with every game I go into, and then even when I do that, like I'll be sitting in there, I'll be sitting at like Bruce's piano at the beginning of Batman, and like my hands will just suddenly jump 3 feet to the left, and I'm like, I can't get you over here now. Come back. How do I fix this? And so I was running into that, especially with like tonight with Riggs and Valkyrie, where like the games and the experiences are fun, but I was running up against like every time I'd come back from a loading screen, like the orientation had somehow changed, so I would have to like completely turn my body to be facing quote unquote forward,
right?
In those games, and I was like, it's the hassle of the experience is tampering with the enjoyment of the games itself. So yeah, that's what I've jumped into recently. I think possibly my favorite is probably Danger Ball from PSVR Worlds.
Oh, okay.
Just the simple gameplay of like first person Pong, where it is another one where you're just controlling the head tracking, and like I had a ton of fun purely gameplay wise with that. Like no story to it or anything, but it's basically like, yep, this is first person Pong meets Tron. This is everything I would want from a virtual reality game.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's another huge standout for me. Yeah, I think that covers all of my kind of big touchstones so far.
Sure.
I really want to dive into like 100-foot robot golf, and maybe even some eagle flight.
Ooh, I do want to check that one out. That looks cool.
Yeah, I think that one just came out this week to PSVR. So yeah, like I will be spending a lot more time with PSVR once we get out of AAA.
Yep.
Like holiday season. Like this is what I will be spending probably like the first quarter of next year playing is all these VR experiences and diving into stuff like Battlezone and 100-foot robot golf. I've been touting this for probably about a year now. I really want VR Quidditch.
Ooh,
yep.
I think if Warner Brothers just wants to print money and sell VR, I think they make a VR Quidditch game, and it would like make it basically something like Riggs, in terms of like control style and gameplay and stuff. And I think it would be the biggest seller that they'll have. And then I told that to the people who were making the Rick and Morty game, because they were like, oh yeah, we're also doing this panel at PAX that's like your best worst ideas for VR, and I was like VR Quidditch, and they were like, yeah, that's great, that's a horrible idea because people will puke all over the place. And I was like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. I actually think it's a really good idea. Like, yeah, no, it's a terrible idea. Don't listen to me.
And
I think it would be perfectly fine, because if you made it a sitting game and you had like one motion controller aim and the other motion controller doing like the hitting and trying to catch the snitch and all that stuff, I think they could totally make that game.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I just think, like, I don't know why it hasn't already been announced, why it wasn't like a system launch thing, why it wasn't an idea that they were like, yep, that's, or like, especially now that Fantastic Beasts is coming out and they're going to continue milking the Harry Potter franchise and
re-release their Lego game on one system.
Yeah. Yeah, that was weird. I forgot that came out. That's like one of the few Lego games I haven't actually played.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
Great too.
That's Harry Potter one. So, yeah, that's the VR experience I really want. I also ended up getting like Star Wars Battlefront. Haven't touched Star Wars Battlefront, but I got it so that when the X-wing mission comes out, I'll be diving into that too.
Yeah.
Because that's another, like, you're letting me be Batman, you're letting me fly an X-wing, just let me hop on a broomstick and play some Quidditch, and you've just knocked off all of my life dreams.
Right.
I am in demand for a Boom Blocks renaissance. I think that franchise was built for VR, and I would just love that. Bring Steven Spielberg back, let him do whatever he did for the game. I'm not even sure what his real involvement was with Boom Blocks. I don't think anybody really knows. I just know he made a lot of money off of it.
It was his studio that made it.
Okay.
And he actually didn't make that much money. That first one didn't do very well.
I feel like he made a lot of money because Wii games were stupid easy to make. I played Until Dawn Rush of Blood. I played all the way through it. Colin, I know you didn't really enjoy it as much as I did.
So the one thing I'll say about that game is it didn't make me feel motion sickness, but it made me feel a little bit of vertigo in a weird way, and I hadn't felt that playing a game before. So kudos to making me feel different things, but I got super bored with it, just like right off the bat, and it was not really that scary to me. I don't know, it didn't do anything for me.
It was in the middle of the day also, and you had me sitting there talking to you. Like, when I played it, I was like just by myself, headphones in, nobody around. And like, I think I played through it in 2 different sittings. I get myself super worked up with horror games and horror movies. I love the horror genre, but I get incredibly freaked out by it, and I kind of thrive off that. So I think going into Rush of Blood and like the jump scares that are super obvious still got me because I was wanting them to get me. I'm also not a fan of roller coasters, so the perceived movement of being on a roller coaster, especially on the dips, was a little hard for me to fully accept that I was okay with it. I was starting to grab onto things like, I'm going to die here because this is a horrible roller coaster and this is not what I signed up for. But I really loved it. I mean, it's not the prettiest looking game by any stretch of the imagination. But it's a silly carnival shooter, with horror.
The roller coaster aspect I love. I would love to hop on a roller coaster, like on those roller coaster simulators that you'll find in VR. But I do not do spooky. Like, jump scares are like the worst for me. That's what when you mentioned like being stressed with Batman Arkham VR, like the end of that game, I was like, oh man, this is probably as far as I can go. It wasn't the. I mean, it was really cool about kind of giving you that claustrophobic feel, but it was like okay, I've got to lean in, and then I know something's going to happen to me. Like, I know doing that's going to, like, I don't want to lean in and talk to you,
right.
Spoiler person. Because I know you're going to do something that's going to go like, Killer already got me a couple times in that last sequence. I don't want to. Yeah. So yeah, I was like super stressed out about that, and I was like, yeah, I contemplated maybe trying to stream Rush of Blood at some point, but I was like, nope. The spooky story thing that I always tell, that's like my favorite funny, because it's not a scary thing at all. In Gone Home, that's a very atmospheric game, but it's not a horror game.
But it feels like it is.
It feels like it is.
Every second you're playing that game, it feels like that.
There's a specific moment that is scripted in there. Like most of the ambiance noise and the lightning and stuff is pure happenstance. But you pick up an object in there, and then when you put it back, like the light bulb above you pops and it explodes because the wiring in that house is crappy. And the first time I was playing that game, like I got to that, it was like late in my house, and like just I was playing it on my computer, and that happened. I was like, nope, I'm done. I can't. And I didn't touch it again for 3 years until it came out to PlayStation 4 this year. And I have had Twitter conversations with Steve Gaynor about that and being like, that moment, that little thing that you put in there, because he talks about it in the commentary on the game. He talks about that being like, this is like the one time we had fun with the horror thing of it. I'm like, that one little joke you put in there kept me from finishing your game for 3 years, dude. Yeah. I hope you're happy. And he was like, I'm sorry, man, but that's funny. I was like, I know. That's why I tell it. That's why I tell the story.
Another game that I've thoroughly enjoyed, which I mentioned at the top of the show, was Thumper. Very intense game. The VR mode in it is very unusual because it's not like many other VR modes that I've seen in the game so far, where it doesn't... It's a very fast-moving game. You're like this beetle essentially moving on this track in the middle of space and time or whatever. And the movement, it's made to look incredibly fast. But when you're in the VR, there is no sense of you going as fast as it looks like you are. Like, not once have I felt like I am moving at the speed of light like this thing is that's in front of me. But what it does is it just completely closes you in to watching all of this take place in front of you. So if you're just playing it on the TV, you're enjoying it, whatever. But in VR, it closes it off from the sides, from the top, from the bottom, and you're just there. And you're watching it happen, and you have the headphones in, and the music is so perfect because it's not overwhelming. It never feels like it's too much. It never feels like it's taking over the gameplay aspect, but it adds just enough to be perfectly synced with the game. And you don't really get a sense of scope when you're in VR until you blow up one of the bosses and the whole thing explodes and just all these particle pieces come flying at you in this giant explosion all around, and you're just like, whoa, I am in this thing, whatever this thing is. But I love it because with as fast as it looks like it's moving, it never feels like you're moving fast. And that was my big concern with it going into it, was this is going to feel like that roller coaster feeling of just, I have no control over what's going to happen. And if this crashes and burns, I'm done. I'm toast. And you never feel like that. So, like the sense of vertigo that Colin, you got with Rush of Blood, it doesn't exist in Thumper because it's just meant to just completely just surround you with what is happening.
I really want to try Thumper again because at the moment I was playing Thumper was when I was like worried to death for you, because at that point we were doing our stream. Josh, for whatever freaking reason, said if anybody donated $100, he'd eat a habanero pepper. Oh. Yeah. So like someone donated it. Yeah. Thanks, Atari Alex.
Yeah.
And you were like psyching yourself up, and I was like, okay. You're like, here, you play this, play a game. I'm gonna go. I think you were getting like a drink of water or something, like, getting ready for it. And the entire time I was just like slightly out of it, so like, oh god, I don't want to see Josh die today. This is gonna be really sad. And
it's for the kids, Colin.
Yeah, and so like I was like half out of it, so I'd like to try it again. But it was visually amazing, and like the simplicity of the controls was really cool. I like the repetition. I like how like when you fail, you get right back into it.
Yep.
And you feel like you're learning as you're playing, which is cool.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that's one that's on my list to play. And the speed thing is interesting to me because that was actually one of my biggest like the worst thing I think I've played in VR so far was the VR Luge in the PSVR world, because I just didn't feel like I was going, like, it's saying I'm going 80, 90 miles an hour, but I was like, I feel like I'm just kind of strolling down the street.
Sure.
So like that not having that sense of speed was a detriment in that game, where it sounds like it like saves your sanity in this one.
Sure. Right. I guess in Luge, like, it felt different because you're seeing things around you and it feels like there's stationary objects that you're passing by that are supposed to be fast, but it doesn't make you feel like you're going fast. Whereas in Thumper, you're just in open space. You know, there's no stationary objects that you're zooming by. So the light is pretty much the only thing that really makes you feel like you're going incredibly fast past this track. But without that sense of scope and feeling of how fast you're actually going, there's nothing. There's no sense of movement at all. Very strange.
Yeah.
One last one I want to talk about. Carnival Games VR.
Oh.
Not the best game. Not the best looking game. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's, game of the year contender by any stretch of the imagination. But if you played any of the other Carnival games, specifically on the Nintendo Wii, you're very familiar with this franchise. And it's just dumb and stupid enough to be fun. I love carny games. I hate dealing with carnies, specifically. And like this game allows you to be in that carnival world and playing these stupid fun little games without having to like feel bad because you just wasted your entire paycheck on a giant stuffed bear that you could have bought from Walmart for like $3 or anything like that.
Or a goldfish.
A goldfish, yeah.
A 10-cent goldfish that you just dropped $40 for.
Right, yeah. So you're playing ring toss, you're playing skee ball. There's like one of those like shooting galleries type of things. Knock over the milk bottles with a softball. So it's all the typical games that you would find at a carnival in VR. Surprisingly, like the VR works really well with Move controllers. It has been one of the games that I have had the least amount of troubles with as far as like it syncing to my Move controller is supposed to represent this hand, and this hand is supposed to be grabbing this digital object. And like a job simulator, you could fuddle around with it for about 3 minutes trying to grab, a ticket off the wheel to get your next order or something like that. Carnival games, I haven't experienced that yet. I haven't experienced that desynchronization to where I feel like I should be is completely different than where it is digitally. So because of that, I've been able to have a lot of fun, and I've been playing games for probably much longer than I should be. Because I'm trying to get a high score, or I'm trying to get 3 stars, and there is nothing that just irks me and satisfies me at the same time, quite like a 3-star level scenario.
Dude, you love that 3-star stuff.
I do, and I hate it because I waste
Angry Bird fiend.
So much time. But I can't walk away from a 2-star. Like, I get 2 stars in a 3-star level. I'm going to play that until I get 3 stars because I'm doing something wrong, and I need to correct that, and I need to be better. So it just sits there and taunts me, and that's what Carnival Games has done. It has been such a time suck. I've probably put 6 or 7 hours in this, and I've only played 4 games in it so far. Just because I'm just going to sit here and keep throwing rings on these bottles until I get 3 stars. Like, at the end of it, I'm, like, soaking wet, dripping with sweat. I'm like, what did I just do? Oh, yeah, I just had, like, this entire full-body workout trying to throw a softball at, milk jugs, and, God, goodness gracious.
Dude, you're so hardcore.
Gotta do what I gotta do. So,
yeah, I get it.
It's not the best game. But it's just fun enough to keep you playing, and keep you just kind of immersed in the world. The only thing I wish that you could do differently was get rid of the guy that introduces you to all the games, because he just follows you around everywhere. And when you start to do bad, he'll openly mock you. Like, pretty bad. Like, he's like, God, you are really bad at this game, and just like dropping insult after insult. And
it's like Wii Fit.
Yeah. So it could do better things, but it's fun because it's a different style of games that any other VR experiences has offered so far. I'm sure somebody could come along and do it better, but I mean, being able to just toss rings and do a little carnival shooting gallery has been fun enough for where I've put that many hours in and still have probably 3/4 of the amusement park to unlock still. So
yeah, that's one of those, like, One of those experiences in VR that I think is another one that I think like eventually they'll do it and it will make millions of dollars is when Disneyland says, "Hey, let's go ahead and just put our like just like do what we did with Disney Adventures on Connect,
Yep.
but better and in VR."
Yep.
And oh, that's right. I dropped an Xbox reference for a system I didn't even have with the 360. But that was like I heard about that game. I was like, that's really cool. And so when VR came around, I was like, yes, that's when you can go somewhere. You can go to like Italy, or when you can just when you wish upon a star, when you can just go to Disneyland and not have to wait in the lines and just do it like at your own pace in it's obviously not going to be a perfect world, but a
small world
video game facsimile of Disneyland in VR, and you can go on and play those rides or play those games, like do some California Adventure stuff in there too, and kind of go through their little like carnival setup that they have over there. Like that's another one where like now that Disney's kind of stepped out of making games themselves, they'll hand that off to somebody really smart and make millions on it.
Slap that Disney license on it, and you got just golden ticket.
Yep. And make it so your Disney Infinity characters do something somehow.
Oh, please, please, please. I just want to hold them and love them forever. I
mean, but like if they, how great would that be if like you could throw a Disney Infinity character onto a portal in VR and then like you see that character pop up and you can like play with them in the game or something like that.
Take selfies, get autographs in my autograph collection book, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Pin trading. Oh my god. Digital VR pin trading.
Get out of here. Disneyland, the MMORPG.
Oh my god, we're creating too good of a game right now. Yeah. Overall, I am a big fan of PSVR. I don't have a computer system that would allow me to do Oculus Rift or the Vive. So PSVR was like my one opportunity to get into the VR. I love my PlayStation so much. I mean, that is my primary console of choice. It made sense for me to dive into PSVR via the PS4. And so far, like, I think I went in with the proper amount of expectations as to what to expect from these games and these experiences. And I've yet to be disappointed. I have enjoyed it. I've had some memorable moments that I will cherish for a very long time as a gamer, and just as a person with family and friends. And I couldn't speak highly enough of PSVR. You kind of feel the same way, Trev?
Yeah. Had either of you guys like played it at all before it came out? I gotten to do demos at Best Buy or something like that.
I tried it at E3, and I played 100-foot robot golf, and it glitched on me so hard that I almost fell over while I was standing in the demo booth, and immediately had to take it off because my point of view was about several hundred feet from where the game thought my point of view should be, and there was no sense of like where I could stand, and I was like feeling around in the air, and I was like, I don't know where I am right now. And I almost collapsed, and they had to take the headset off, and she was like, do you want to keep playing? I'm like, do you think I want to keep playing? I almost died in VR. So I walked out, and I went into just a hallway and sat down up against a wall for about an hour and a half just to collect my sense of being. It was that bad, and I was deathly afraid of VR after that. So I will probably never be touching 100-foot robot golf. But considering that was my one experience, and I still took the bait, I bought into PSVR, and I have loved it this much. Says a lot how this piece of hardware actually runs.
Yeah, it's good they won you back. How about you, Colin?
Yeah, I think it's, I've tried the Oculus, I've tried the Samsung Gear thing, and the PSVR is by far the most comfortable. I'm very excited about the experiences of what's going to happen, especially with like the independent developer scene. Now that you have a pretty solid install base for VR. I mean, it's from my understanding, it's sold better than what they're expecting it to. I'm just excited to see what's going to happen in the future. As great as the experiences are now, we are still in that launch time frame, which most people consider launch games kind of crappy. So if these great experiences are the quote unquote kind of crappy games, what are we going to see in the future?
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm very excited.
Yeah, my first so the Rick and Morty one that I played, I did play that before right before PSVR came out, and I was playing that on a Vive, so that's the only other like VR system I'd had, but this is certainly a more comfortable experience in that regard. Vive was definitely interesting, being able to like walk around a space and move in the game. But my first PSVR experience, my first VR experience was last year's PSX. I played a game called Classroom Aquatic, which I don't think it's out yet actually. And it's just a dumb little novelty game where you are a dolphin who has just woken up for a pop quiz surrounded by other dolphins, and you don't know any of the answers to your test, but everybody else around you does. All of you're just the dumb dolphin in your class, basically. And so you basically like the object of the game is to cheat off of like the dolphins around you, because whatever answer they're putting in is the right answer. And like the test I took, it's like you have like 5 minutes to take this pop quiz or something. It's like a 10-question thing. And it was like, who was the president of Germany in 1922 or something like that? And it's like, nope, I definitely don't know any of these 4 names you're giving me on this multiple choice thing. Or what flag is this? And it's like, looking off of this dolphin to the left of me, it appears to be the flag of Burundi or something. So, sure, yep. And the teacher is like walking around. The teacher in this class was like a porpoise or something, and is walking around. And you're basically trying to not get caught cheating. And you have a few like erasers that you can throw to distract the teacher, so you can throw it across the room. And if you hit you throw it at another dolphin, they'll go ee! and freak out. And my game glitched too, so it was funny that your 100-foot robot golf did, because I threw the first eraser and then it wouldn't let me throw anymore, and the teacher froze in place where he was, and so I was like, well, he's pretty close. I don't want to try and get caught. And so I just kind of slowly peeked around. I ended up getting 5 out of the 10 questions right or something, and I was like, yeah, I was talking to the guy who gave me the demo afterwards, it wouldn't let me throw the erasers anymore, and then the teacher just kind of stopped there, and he was like, yeah, pretty sure it wasn't supposed to do that. Sorry. So that glitched, and then I didn't mention it earlier, but my second experience being the Rick and Morty one, that I became the first person to ever break that demo for them too. There's a moment in there where, if you're familiar with the show, there's a Mr. Meeseeks box there, and Rick and Morty are leaving. You're playing the whole thing in the garage, and Rick and Morty you're a Morty clone, with that can't talk, and that's how they get by. You being a clone and whatnot. Sure. You just don't have a mouth or what. You're a stupid clone. So Rick is telling you what to do, and he tells you how to teleport at some point so you can move across the room. And it is very much like Job Simulator, so you can just pick things up or push buttons and stuff. But they leave, and they're like, don't touch anything, because you could destroy the world. And then the first thing I do is I hit the Mr. Meeseeks box, and the screen just shuts to black. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's a very nice meta joke. And I think that for a second, until I hear outside of the headphones the people, because I was it was a press demo that I was taking. And they're like, oh crap. And I'm like, uh-oh. And they were like, yep, you just became this is the second or third show we've shown it off at, and you just became the first person to crash it. And I was like, yay. And they think I'm there from IGN, so I'm like, yay, IGN. And yay, I'm cursed, because apparently every VR demo I play I break. But then they took me over to another station, got me set up, and got me playing through, and I didn't break the next time. I still did the same thing and pushed the button again, and then it's just Meeseeks comes out, and you throw him across the room, and he's wearing a VR headset and holding the Vive controllers, and whatever you do, he does. So if you swing your arm around, he swings his arm around and knocks something off the shelf over by him. And so, yeah, it was just a fun, dumb little demo, but it was like, well, yep, I just keep breaking everything I try before I get the VR itself. So here's hoping. And outside of like the little configuration stuff I've run into earlier that we talked about earlier, I haven't glitched out any of my actual games. So yay, PSVR.
Yeah. Another one to look out for too is the Psychonauts VR. I played that at PAX, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of a really goofy game. A lot of fun stuff you can do with manipulating objects, and it's a first-person point-and-click adventure, which is kind of cool. So I'm really excited to see that game. Yeah, play that game. So
awesome. Well, it sounds like we're all fans of PlayStation VR. Like Colin said, this is just the infancy stage of VR. If these are, the worst games to expect from this, we have some amazing games and experiences on the horizon. But speaking of games on the horizon, Colin, you have some games coming out here in the next few weeks. You want to give a quick rundown of what the people might be playing in the next month or so?
Yeah, Dishonored 2 comes out tomorrow or today, depending on if you pre-ordered it. It's also one of those weird early release things. I don't know. The Assassin's Creed HD collection, the Ezio collection, is coming out November 11th, which is also tomorrow.
I completely forgot that was a thing.
Yep. Well, there's no new Assassin's Creed, so they got to put something out.
PS4 Pro, where it's just like, oh, yep, that was a stealth release. A stealth release, guys. Hey-oh.
I see what you did there.
He's an assassin. He's not. Okay. Watch Dogs 2 comes out November 15th. Anybody excited about that one? I mean, it looks cool.
Curious.
I'm excited for it just because San Francisco is like one of my favorite places in the world. So getting to like run around San Francisco or their facsimile of it will be a lot of fun and give me all like the happy feels.
Yeah, I was super stoked for Second Son for the same reason. Seattle, I like Seattle, so being able to run around and seeing the stuff, I'm like, hey, I've been there. Like I saw, like when I was there for PAX, I was like, oh, hey, there's the pink elephant thing.
Yep. That's a real thing.
Yep. Final Fantasy 15, woohoo! It's coming November 29th. I'm very excited about that one, as I said earlier. And Last Guardian, which apparently is still a game. I don't know.
Won't believe it until it's in my hand.
Yep, that's kind of where I'm at too. Even if it's gone gold, even if people are reviewing it right now, it doesn't exist until I see it.
Yeah. If the Cubs could win the World Series, Last Guardian could also come out, I suppose.
I guess.
That is one of the in the Facebook group, one of the kind of funny fans was like, "Do you realize we're gonna elect the first female president before the Last Guardian comes out?" And I got this was before the election. I got super nerdy on it and was like, well, actually, with the Electoral College, we're just voting on the electors, and then the electors of the Electoral College won't actually vote on the next president until like late in December. So technically, the Last Guardian will come out first. And now I just think about that and I'm sad.
Yeah. Please, can we just go back to when that was possible? Yeah.
We got some free stuff.
Yeah. What do we got?
Free stuff. Everyone's gone to the Rapture.
Well, the mattress.
Blah, blah, blah.
It is late, Colin.
Enunciate game. I haven't played this, but I've been wanting to play for a long time. Then we also have the Deadly Tower of Monsters. We have Dirt 3 on PS3. Costume Quest 2 on PS3. Letter Quest Remastered. I don't know what they need to remaster, but, it's remastered.
Once a Letter Quest, always a Letter Quest.
Sure. Hey, do you remember Bookworm? I loved that game. It was a great game.
I mean, I remember Mario Teaches Typing.
Yeah, good one too.
Donkey Kong Math.
Dude, what is it? I played one of the Mario CDI games. I think it was Mario Hotel. That game was awful, but I remember really loving it.
I was the same way with Mario is Missing.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm learning geography, guys, and I actually probably do know. Like, I can identify the Trevi Fountain thanks to Mario is Missing. So there's that.
Yeah,
I learned a lot of geography because of Carmen Sandiego. So
yeah, that was the other touchstone of my childhood there.
Man, where in the world is she? Honestly. And then Pumped BMX Plus.
I'm pumped.
PS Vita. That's gonna be a good one. I'm
sure. Yeah, it's free. Let's end on a high note here. Let's go to the community. We ask them to share their joys, what PlayStation games they are playing and enjoying. We had Richard Devine at Ricker666 said, Killzone Mercenary on the Vita is an amazing FPS, regardless of console. Drive Club VR is also a lot of fun right now. Evan Parker at The Lone Goldfish said, Helldivers, doing very difficult things with strangers and communicating exclusively through yes, no, wait, go. Letholdus666 said, Assassin's Creed series on PS3. Amazing graphics, great storylines. It makes you plan ahead to complete missions. DMU Girl said, World of Final Fantasy. I loved games where I could collect things. Dishonored, I'm really good at stealth if I could save constantly. I feel like that's probably safe to say for everybody. She also said, tell me all the reasons I need PSVR so I could repeat them to my mom. Well, DMU Girl, I hope we made a convincing argument to you and your mom that you definitely need that to go along with your new PlayStation Pro.
Yeah, I mean, one more reason, though. You put your mom in Until Dawn Rush of Blood and you videotape it, and that will go viral.
There we go. Or blackmail her, and don't even put it online. Just have it there.
I mean, yeah, there's certainly that, too.
And then Fried Seabass said, Batman Telltale series, loving it. It's a lot of fun making my picks, then watching what my wife does. Also having fun with Call of Duty. So thank you to everybody that let us know what you guys are playing out there. There's definitely a lot of video games to ingest these days, and hopefully everybody out there is enjoying something and finding some sort of sanctuary within the digital world to escape what's going on out there, because we need it. You know, we have to face the real world, but you know what? Escapism is okay when used in moderation. So,
yep.
Thank you guys. That was an amazing episode.
And if not, at least we've got VR.
That's right. At least we got VR. Trevor, I promised at the beginning of this episode this was going to be our best episode yet.
I'm sorry I've let you down.
We'll try again next time. Maybe on Xbox Week you'll come and you can make a more convincing argument for.
Yeah.
You gotta come back and we can talk Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 15. We gotta come back and talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. I will be devoting some time to it. Hopefully I enjoy it. Yay.
If not, we'll just pretend like it never happened.
There we go. If not, Persona 5's right around the corner.
Absolutely. Well, Trevor, thank you again for joining us tonight. It was a lot of fun. So glad we were able to do this. Please take a moment and let everybody know where they could find you, where they could find all your work, all your taglines and bylines, and brag as much as you want here for the next couple minutes before I cut you off and send you about your way.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a lot of fun catching up with you guys. You can find me. I'm at Snarky Starkey on Twitter. That's Snarky spelled how you would spell Snarky. And then Starkey actually has an EY in it, like Ringo. You can follow my my podcast at Trove Talk, and that's weekly. It comes out in kind of 4 segments, Monday through Thursday, and then I release the whole thing on Fridays, on video or on podcast services. Trove Talk being the podcast. TrevorTrove.com is the website where you can find kind of, that's like the one place, the one-stop catch-all of everything I do, but that's also where you'll find more of my written content, reviews and previews and just kind of editorial stuff. I'll probably be doing here in the next week or two, like a week-long bout of like daily first-person shooter reviews, because I've been stocking up on some of those. I've got like Battlefield 1, I've got Call of Duty, because this was the first time since Battlefield 1942 I've played a Battlefield game, and the first Call of Duty games I'd ever played were Infinite Warfare, and now I'm going through the Modern Warfare remaster, and then Titanfall 2, and I'll probably also throw in Gears 4 into the mix on that. So kind of have a shooter week coming up on that. And then, like we said, you'll occasionally maybe find a news story I've written on IGN, which is cool. And the last little thing I want to plug is you guys just did your Extra Life stream. I will be over Thanksgiving weekend. You can follow me on Twitter for like the specifics once I get them locked down. But over that weekend, I'm going to sit down with Bloodborne for the first time, having never played a Souls game, and I'll be doing a run of that. And hopefully, the commitment I'm making is that I will be donating $1 for every death to Extra Life to my account in Extra Life. So hopefully I have money to go to places after that.
But you have writing gigs lined up already, right?
Yeah. If not, I will. I might not make it to PAX next year. But that should be fun. I'm really bad at video games. The closest to a Dark Souls like game I've ever played was I played Salt and Sanctuary that came out earlier this year. It was one of the PlayStation Play games or something where it came out. It was like one of their promotions, and it's a Dark Souls like game. And I probably died 30 or 40 times on like the first basic boss in that game. So definitely not looking forward to all the money I'm going to be losing in Bloodborne and all the stress it's going to be causing me. But yeah, it'll be should be a fun time at least, and going to a good cause. So if people want to kind of tune in, I'll be streaming that on twitch.tv/tstarky0810. But yeah, you'll be able to follow along if you follow me on Twitter.
Sure.
I'll be posting and tweeting about that as it comes up, and then during the stream, I'm sure I'll be tweeting out regularly. And if you want to give to that, you can find that information in my Twitter too.
Absolutely.
So that's I think that's I'm all plugged out there, guys.
we'll be retweeting that as much as we can. Let people know where they can find you and watch that, because I know Colin perked up hearing that, and that would be something Colin would watch because he's kind of into that sort of thing.
Yep. Pre-warning then, when I am bad at video games and dying a lot, I curse a lot, so that stream will not be nearly as family friendly. Just as a parental advisory warning for your listeners.
Sure. Fair enough. Colin, where can people find you at, my friend?
I'm at PDX_geek on Twitter.
Okay, well, you have like 4 more minutes to plug stuff, so.
Let's see. I have MySpace, Flickster, AOL, AIM, Ouya, Flip Phone.
Did I tell you I couldn't find the Ouya, by the way?
Oh, yeah?
I couldn't find it.
It's because it doesn't exist.
No, I have it somewhere. I don't know where it is.
No, you don't.
Okay. I was going to pull it out for the extra live stream, and I couldn't find it.
I figured that was what you were tweeting about earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Well, you can find me personally on Twitter at The Noise. Be sure to follow the show at Joys of Games. You can email us, joysofgames@gmail.com. Everything that we have hosted is over at toysforgames.com. And if you'd like to support us and what we do here on this show and all the other shows, you can do so over on Patreon, patreon.com/toysforgames. Trevor, thank you once again. I encourage everybody out there listening to go check out Trevor's work. Follow him on all the things. Harass him in the comment section of every IGN article that he posts. And go watch him die a lot in Bloodborne.
You're here.
Thanksgiving weekend, right?
Yep. It'll probably be like Friday to Saturday.
Cool. And give him lots of money because it's for the kids, and he's gonna need it.
You're here.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you for this amazing episode. Go out there, play some games, and enjoy them, please, because we need that in this world right now. Good night.